Stafford going towards the end zone. Parkinson! What a catch! And a touchdown! Last chance. Young. It's dropped, and it's over. Jimmy Horn drops it, and the Rams survive.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK, that's what it sounded like over the weekend as the Rams, that wordage, or that phrasing there, wordage. That's not a word.
Wordage? Man,
That
we are starting off
phrasing
hot.
is perfect.
Wordle.
They survived. These playoffs have been every bit as wide open as we all expected. No Chiefs involved, no Lamar Jackson involved, and suddenly, dude, I have no idea. Somebody texted me, one of my buddies texted me yesterday and said, okay, gut check time. Who's going to play in the Super Bowl this year? I said, dude, I have no idea. If I had to predict today, I thought the winner of the Bills versus Jags game would go on to the Super Bowl. I picked the Jags going into the playoffs, so Jags versus Rams was my initial prediction.
God, after 2 quarters of that, you could have been like, oh, I don't know.
100%. And now I'll go ahead and take Bills versus Rams. My level of actual faith in that is rock bottom. I have no belief that I'm going to be correct. But that's awesome. These playoffs, you couldn't have asked for anything better. Through the first 3 games, the team that was leading at the 2-minute warning lost the football game every single time. And I thought it was about to happen again as we got into that 49ers versus Eagles game, because it felt as though, all right, here we go. Eagles going to find a way to pull this one out as well. Ultimately, we know what happened there. But, Alex, what was your biggest takeaway from the first weekend? One game still left to play tonight.
That one doesn't really matter.
Of the NFL's playoffs.
Well, the first takeaway that I had was like, man, how much better this is compared to last year's wild card. I told you guys this. Like, I felt like all of those were blowouts, and we looked it up. But yeah, I mean, you expected the teams to win, but I mean, they weren't even competitive. And this one, with the exception of that Chargers-Patriots one last night, it was back and forth all the way. It felt like I was watching a heavyweight boxing match to where each side was just exchanging blows to each other. The second takeaway that I had was that, damn, I know football. I guess the first round is pretty predictable except for Buffalo and Jacksonville. But beyond that,
I don't think it's predictable at all.
In the AFC?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? You think there's a chance the Chargers beat the Patriots?
Yes.
No freaking way. You think there's a chance Aaron Rodgers, who shouldn't even be in the playoffs, could beat the Texans?
That one would surprise me, but I don't have a feel one way or the other on Patriots, Chargers, or Jags, Bills.
Oh, yeah. See,
I lean Jags and Patriots. I lean that direction.
I could put it in pen. Buffalo, New England, Houston in the AFC.
Oh, pen for all three. Okay.
Oh, hold on. Time out. Say that one more time.
Buffalo, New England, Houston in pen.
Wait, let me put the bed down.
Buffalo, Houston, New England in P-E-N.
That's not what I was expecting for this. I thought it was going to be him going 2 and 3 in picks at the end of the show on Friday.
But essentially, that's what it was.
Yeah.
I
questioned me.
I don't feel bad.
5-0 for your boy.
Whoever you picked this weekend, unless you picked the Chargers, whoever you picked, you shouldn't feel bad about it. You shouldn't. You shouldn't feel bad today if you picked the Panthers to upset the Rams.
Unless you're in the room with some of your closest friends, then feel bad about it because they're going to give you crap.
Yeah. The Panthers had every opportunity to win that game. The Packers probably should have won that game.
Yeah.
The Jaguars probably should have won that game. The Eagles last night did everything they could to lose that game, and they handed it to the 49ers every bit as much as the 49ers ultimately took it away from them. The Patriots last night, I know what the score is, 16-3. If you watched any of that game, you saw that was not an impressive showing by the New England Patriots. Their offense looked completely lackluster for, 55 of the 60 minutes. Mm-hmm. And then a big play by Ramondre Stevenson and a big run by Drake May was basically the existence of their offense last night. So if you picked the side that lost in basically any of these games, I'm going to exclude the Chargers, even though that game was a lot closer than the final score will indicate. Those games were all 50-50 coin flips. Like, they were. And this is what we love about the NFL during the regular season, most years, is that on any given Sunday, anything can happen. It's what makes our Pick'em Challenge so freaking hard. It's really the idea, the premise behind it is, good luck picking these games. Nobody knows. Nobody. Including the greatest analysts that are out there, other than Alex, of course. But
so that right.
Normally when you get to the playoffs, that changes.
Yeah.
And you can predict it pretty easily by just saying, hey, better quarterback, better coach, that's going to be the team that wins. And I went away from that over the weekend, Alex, and that's what got me into trouble. I picked Trevor Lawrence and Liam Cohen to beat Josh Allen and McDermott. That's on me. I picked, because I saw it last year, really, I picked Jalen Hurts in that scumbag Nick Sirianni.
God, yes. Perfect description.
To beat Brock Purdy, who's pretty similar in terms of overall effectiveness to Jalen Hurts, and one of the best coaches in the NFL, and Kyle Shanahan. That's on me.
If anything, man, it does get you excited to show you like how open the NFL is in terms of more of these competitive teams. Like we've ished on Green Bay a lot this year, and I don't know what's going to happen this offseason with their head coach, but like that was a hell of a football game.
It's amazing.
I have given Caleb Williams a lot of crap over the last 3 seasons. I apologize, Caleb, because you have emerged as a top quarterback. Like, that was a hell of a football game with Ben Johnson. But, man, like, if I'm looking at the NFC, it always feels like every year we come in and it's San Francisco, it's the Rams, it's the Eagles, and that's it. Now, there's 4 or 5 teams that you look at and you could say, damn, we're going to make this interesting. The same in the AFC side of things. Like Jacksonville, I know you lost. You had a chance to win that football game. And moving forward, you are going to be a very entertaining team in the AFC. No longer does it feel like it's just Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, and Jackson. Like now you're adding in more teams, which as an NFL fan, that makes every season moving forward that much more exciting.
And to BK's question from your buddy, like, pick your horse now, right? Who's getting to the Super Bowl? I mean, you could even look at every team that won and still go, man, major flaws.
Do you guys think the 49ers can get there?
No, I don't think so.
I think they lose there versus the Seahawks.
Do you guys feel good about the Patriots after last night?
No,
absolutely not. I think
How do you feel about the Bills' defense today?
Not great,
but you know what I feel
What
great
about
about?
the Bears' defense? You feel good about that?
God, no.
Definitely not.
Rams' defense? Feeling good about that?
Or
today?
special teams.
Now, maybe Carolina's just better than we thought.
No, he yelled at
Now,
me when I
let me
said
ask
that.
you about the bye teams. Do you feel good about either the Seahawks or the Broncos' offenses?
Don't trust their quarterback.
Good luck.
Neither of them. Bills, Bears, that's my Super Bowl. Right now, put it in pen.
Let me ask you this a different way. Out of all of the teams that remain, the best units, the individual sides of the football, so like this team's defense, this team's offense, etc., are the best units that exist all defenses? Because I would say right now for me, the Broncos, the Seahawks, and the Texans defenses and the Rams offense are like the top 4 units that still exist within this postseason.
I'd put the Bears offense.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wouldn't just because of how I saw the first half go. I get it because they were so good in the second half.
They're so erratic. I think that Caleb Williams is awesome. He's like a home run hitter in baseball where the slugging percentage is there, but you're going to take the strikeouts along with it. And if you have a game of too many strikeouts,
they feel very Detroit-y, though, to where they've got a lot of options with their quarterback. Like if this guy is this level that we all have seen lately in their quarterback or in their coach's mindset, I mean, you've got 3 legit weapons with your wide receiver. You've got 2 running backs that you can trust, a tight end. Like, it's an offense that if I'm going to put the Rams in it, I think I can look at the Bears and say, yeah, but they've got the potential to score a lot of points on you.
You've been better at predicting this than I have. I think the Rams are a lot better offensively. I think they have a lot more talent.
I think they're more consistent.
That's the biggest thing is I feel like I can trust them more week to
like
week.
Caleb, like you watch that first half against the Packers, and Caleb's missing guys that are open, and then blaming those guys on the sideline when he got over there yelling. So
Nick Sirianni won a Super Bowl by blaming his own players.
True.
That's
they
fair.
also had an unbelievable defense. Meanwhile, the Bears have a defense that I don't trust at all.
Yeah, they're going to get picked apart by Stafford if they go up against them. So I think you're probably right. I think 3 of the 4 units that I probably trust the most going into the next round, assuming the Texans get there tonight. I just got to say it because it's a 4 versus 5, and we saw how that went for the Rams. I think you're right. It's probably the defense. The Rams would be the only offense that I trust, but now that Stafford and McVay announced he's got a sprained, I think one of the fingers is on his throwing hand that is sprained. So, like, I mean, you saw it. He had lost a little bit of the zip on his fastball when he ran his hand into a helmet in that contest the other day. So, I don't know. I think it would be the 3 defenses I trust more than the Rams offense right now.
Did your opinion change on anybody after watching this weekend? Like, truly change compared to what your thoughts were on that respective team going into Wild Card Weekend?
I don't think so. I guess
lost confidence in the Rams.
Yeah, I was going to say, I guess, but I don't know if I was ever that they were the best team. I think I thought that in the middle of the season, but now, and the way they kind of limped into the playoffs, I don't know if I viewed them as the best team. They were the best of the remaining, but I don't view that way anymore. I think I would look at Seattle and Chicago as having a better chance to get to the Super Bowl than the Rams.
Yeah, mine would be Rams as well, but not just them. Mine would be New England as well. And BK's been on the New England train of, hey, I don't know if they can win it all because, as he brought up their schedule, we didn't really get to see them against good teams. Watching their offense last night, they don't have enough yet offensively. Yeah. They can't win the Super Bowl, and I thought they could get there. I didn't think that they could win it. I don't think they can get there now. Watching that offense last night for the Patriots, them and the Rams were the two teams that I lost most confidence in over the weekend.
I think because I expect Houston to win tonight, I think there's a real chance Houston could be pushing for a Super Bowl this year.
Texans are a nightmare matchup for the Patriots. Mm-hmm. An absolute nightmare matchup.
And then if Buffalo beats Denver, which I'm anticipating happens, that's going to be the toughest challenge of Josh Allen's season.
Yeah. Right now, I think the Texans are going to win tonight too. That's my prediction for this game. So congratulations to Aaron Rodgers, son of dancing, based on the way the rest of the first round.
I think Will Anderson's going to send him into a permanent darkness retreat.
I would have the Texans over the Patriots and the Bills over the Broncos. So both lower seeds potentially advancing on to the AFC Championship game. I think the Seahawks, I thought this last weekend, but I think the Seahawks will wipe the floor with the 49ers. And I do think that the Rams will beat the Bears, but that Rams defense, I thought they would be able to do what the Eagles did a year ago, where they just turned it on. They flipped the switch, you get to the playoffs, and it's like, oh, that's right. Talent everywhere. Like, all pro level talents at all of these different positions. That's the Rams to me. They are the closest thing to what we saw a year ago with the Eagles. Not necessarily on the defensive side of the ball, but certainly on offense. It just didn't look that way in the first round against the Panthers. So I do have a fear that, hey, this team just might not have it this time around. But I would go Rams, Seahawks, Texans, and the Bills to advance to the next round based upon both what we have seen all season long and what I saw this weekend in the playoffs.
How do we feel about the fact that both BK and I have the same picks on all of those?
Not great, Bob.
Not great at all.
He's Alex. That's T-Bone. I'm BK. 314-399-9646. That is the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. YouTube chat is available for you at youtube.com/101ESPN STL. T-Bone, do you have differing picks, by the way? Well, I obviously have all week, but our gut reaction coming off of the weekend.
I like Broncos. I think they're going to be able to do it just enough offensively, and that defense will do a better job of containing Josh Allen than what we saw from the Jags. So that's really the one that I would look at right now. I still think Rams beat the Bears. I think Texans, I kind of agree with you. I think they will beat the Patriots in Seattle over San Fran. The only one that I would differ on is I think Denver's just that good that they can stop Josh Allen.
Defense is legit. There's no doubt about that, and that's been one of the biggest storylines of the NFL season. The irony is defense and running game, those are the two stories of the season.
Till the playoffs.
And in Wild Card Weekend, couldn't have been more opposite. The best running plays were, generally speaking, by quarterbacks over the weekend, and defense was non-existent outside of one game, basically. So, weird weekend, fun weekend, though. We'll break it all down throughout the day today here on BK and Ferrario. In 15 minutes, big news in Major League Baseball over the weekend as the Cubs signed Alex Bregman. What does it mean for the Cardinals? How does it impact the potential Brendan Donovan market? We'll get into that in 15 minutes. But next, Alex was thrilled. He was throwing a party over the weekend as the Blues officially signed Phillip Broberg for 6 years. What are Alex's thoughts on the matter? We'll talk about it next here on 101 ESPN. With Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Big news over the weekend as Phillip Broberg signs a 6-year deal, $8 million average annual value. According to reports, Jeremy Rutherford had this in his piece over at The Athletic. The Blues wanted, as you can imagine, 8 years.
Yeah.
His representation wanted 4 years. They met in the middle. They got it to 6. Congratulations to all parties involved.
Yeah. And then he would go play in the first game with a new contract, and that scumbag Mark Stone took him down and, gets his head injured and is not on the ice today, according to Jeremy Rutherford of The Athletic. So
we can set that aside for a second.
Sure,
let's just talk about the big picture.
Let's not cry about that.
Let's be real. That's what matters for the Blues, as they're now a top 3 selection in the NHL.
You're giving
draft.
up?
I'm out. Yeah.
They just went 0-3 on a road trip versus Chicago and Utah. Yeah, man.
Yeah, but this core won 11 in a row last year. Or 12 in a row, excuse me.
I don't care.
Yeah, we're good. I don't need to think about that any longer. Broberg, though, does matter to me, Alex. What did you make of the extension, the terms of it, the years, all of that? What did you make of it?
I said this on pregame. It's the biggest win of the season for the Blues. To be able to get him locked up. I said this on our show. I said this on the Last Minute Blues podcast. My concern was never how much they were going to pay him. It's how many years they were going to sign him. Because I assumed his agent was going to try and do the whole 2 to 3 year deal to take you up to free agency and get paid. And then with JR's reporting, that's what they wanted. They wanted to walk him up to 28 years old in UFA and get paid. But Broberg, according to Jeremy Rutherford's reporting, wanted to be in St. Louis, and they met at the 6-year deal, which makes a lot of sense. So when I saw 6 years, I'm like, cool, win. Don't care how much he's getting paid. Because I assumed we were talking somewhere between $9.5, $10 million for what the projections were going to look like. The fact that they got him at $8 million, I was looking at this. That next season, 2 years from now when the cap goes up, that's going to be 7.8% of the cap.
It's basically what Colton Parayko was for his deal.
And Joey brought this up on pregame because he said, Broberg projects like the other Swedish defenseman, like a Victor Hedman in terms of how he plays. Hedman, when he signed his massive contract, was at 9.2% of the salary cap. So, again, all of this is still projecting forward with Broberg. He's only 2 full seasons into the NHL. But to get him at $8 million for 6 years, it was a massive win for this Blues team because you lock up a guy that is already viewed as a top defenseman, but as he continues to grow and develop, can be that true number one. Jim Montgomery's putting him on the power play now, which that's going to move points up once you get your power play figured out. This was a massive victory for the Blues to get him locked up to that AAV, to now try and reshape the roster around him. And it does tell you about Broberg that he at least sees where this team hopefully is headed with their projections.
From the 636, is Broberg the Blues' best player right now? I feel like he is at this point. He's been playing like their best player this season.
Yeah.
He's your best player. Night and day. Best player.
I can't believe they got it for that average salary, given the fact that they got him for 6 years. I thought it would
bump up the number.
I did too.
I thought you could have been talking about $10 million, and I wouldn't have blinked at it. If they announced this deal, and it was a 6-year contract worth $10 million per year, I'd have been like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have bothered me at all. I would have totally understood it from their point of view, from Broberg's point of view, and I would have probably read the same story by Jeremy Rutherford today. And his agent said, listen, we wanted 4 years, but because they were willing to kick up the average annual value, we were willing to go to 6. Yeah, I get it. That makes sense to me. But, man, this is a huge win for the Blues. They couldn't have asked for a better situation than what they ultimately got.
To put it into context, and I tweeted this out because, I used the Edmonton Oilers as a reference because they're the team that didn't want to keep him because they figured he was going to get paid at some point. They paid Darnell Nurse $9.5 million for 9 years. He has the same amount of points as Broberg this season, and Broberg has a better plus-minus rating on a team that has given up the most goals in the National Hockey League. Like, to look at the on spot.
Broberg's a plus on this team. The
That's
Blues have the worst.
They have given up the most
stat,
goals,
and yours is an incredible stat.
That's the thing. And he's on the ice the most of any player on this team. But if you look, Spotrac goes through contracts for defensemen and what they were paid. Jacob Trouba is making $8 million a year. That's what he was paid when he was playing with the New York Rangers. Thomas Chabot, Jake Sanderson, 2 top defensemen playing for the Ottawa Senators, that's what they're making. They're paying him like a top defenseman, which might not look like it now, but 2 years from now, if he continues the trajectory that they anticipate and that we see with the eye test, he's going to be a $10 million player making $8 million in this salary cap world.
The Blues are a minus 47 on the season.
Ouch.
Broberg is a plus one.
That answers your question if he's the best player on the team.
He's the only one that plays at least 15 minutes a night that has a plus on the season. The next closest is Robert Thomas at a -3. Pius Suter is also
honestly the Robert Thomas one is pretty impressive too.
Yeah, I can't believe he's only a -3,
especially for how many line combos.
When the Blues' top pair and top line is on the ice this season, they're fine. The problem is when literally anybody else is out there.
Which is wild to say.
Like, anybody else other than the top pair defensively or the top line offensively, you're screwed. You're getting outscored by a historic pace. But when those guys are out there, man, do the Blues look like they could actually be decent.
Can we get a Mailloux plus-minus update?
No, we don't need that. We don't need that. The poor guy.
Logan Mailloux on the season is a -21, and he is somehow not the worst on the team. Do you know who the worst player on the team is when it comes to their plus-minus?
Fowler feels like a very good guess. I'm gonna stick with
Fowler is a -19. Wow. Any other guesses?
It's a forward. Is it Shen?
It's either Shen or Sundqvist.
Who are you going with, Alex?
I'm going Shen.
So Shen.
Sonny is a -13. Braden Shin, -23 on the season.
That dude could have a second or third line, depending on which line he's on. When they get out there, it's ugly.
That dude could have a -73, and I don't care what he looks like for after what he did this weekend. Can I give you another contract comp as to why this is a steal for the Blues? Because there are some that think I'm being exaggerating with this being a steal.
Do people actually think that this is a bad deal?
Luke Hughes of the New Jersey Devils. I don't know if anyone's familiar with. He's a former 4th overall pick. This season, he's got 24 points, and he's a -9 on the Devils.
Yeah, they're mad at him.
He's 22 years old, and he's making $9 million.
By the way, your boy, Keldon Sheaf, people want him out.
Hold on, what'd you call him?
Is it Sheldon Keefe?
Man. He just Keldon Sheafed. He just Keldon Sheafed him.
When he said Keldon, I was like, that doesn't sound right.
He said Keldon Sheafed. Did you just have a stroke on air? Keldon Sheafed. I'm a big fan of Blake Karubi. I hope Mim Montgomery can figure it out for the Blues this season. Luke Hughes is making...
I was talking in code.
Luke Hughes is making $9 million. Everyone remember Jackson Lacombe, the huge season he had for Anaheim last year? Big defenseman, scored a ton of goals, and they're like, this is the #1 defenseman of our future. He's like a -8 right now. He's making $9 million. Broberg is a plus on a team that has given up the most goals in the National Hockey League. I rest my case.
Somebody else on the text line said, isn't this all the same stuff that we were saying about Robert Thomas and Jordan Kyrou when they signed their deals?
Yes.
Yes, and their deals have aged fine.
Yeah.
They're tradable. Like, the fact that they are tradable, despite the limitations that we've seen from each of them respectively compared to our hopes, speaks to the fact that they were good contracts that were handed out. There are currently... I'll just go through this real quick, Alex. The number of defensemen that are under contract right now for more than $8 million on an annual value. Let's see. Let's go through these. #1 in the league is Erik Karlsson.
Oh,
God.
Rasmus Dahlin, Drew Doughty, Thomas Harley. We have, going down the list, Werenski. That guy's really good.
I've heard he's great.
that team stinks.
Zarinsky.
Noah Dobson, Seth Jones, Charlie McAvoy, Darnell Nurse, who you brought up just a little bit ago,
Seth
Alex.
Jones, by the way. Oof.
Yeah. Roman
That's a
Josi,
bad one.
Luke Hughes, Dougie Hamilton, who's also not doing so well.
It's on the trade block.
Jackson Lacombe, who you just mentioned there. Jacob Chikrin. He's
Kyle McCarr not on this list?
Lane Hudson.
Yeah, Kyle McCarr's on this list.
Alex
He said it went
Pietrangelo.
towards the top, didn't he?
I don't think. Oh, he did.
I think it was second. He said after Karlsson.
I was so distracted by Carlson.
Provorov's another one.
Sergachev.
We almost had him.
Brock Faber, Heiskanen.
Yeah.
There's like 20 defensemen that are making more money than what you're expecting from.
And there's a handful of them that Broberg is significantly better, making less money.
And there will continue to be more that are added onto this list over the course of the next 6 years.
Yeah.
So you're talking about, like, I would say overall on average, 30-ish to 40.
Yeah.
Highest paid defenseman in the league over the course of this contract.
It does also say a lot about Broberg. Like, I know Doug Armstrong had the quote that said, it's credit to him, but also it's our job to make this team competitive in front of him because he's put his trust. If I'm Broberg and I'm 24 years old, I'm not signing this long contract unless you give me a game plan of what this is going to look like. And for whatever you believe, this is a bad season for the Blues. Whatever game plan Steen and Doug Armstrong have, Broberg wasn't willing to invest his prime years into it. So that should give you at least some hope if you're a Blues fan.
Blues right now, speaking of the game plan, are third overall in the NHL draft standings.
He told them, hey, we're going to get your fellow countrymen. We are going to be full of Swedes next year.
42 points on the season in 46 games. The only teams that are, whether you want to call it below or above them, teams that are more likely to get the number 1 overall pick than the Blues are Vancouver and Winnipeg. Going to guess that Winnipeg will...
They've won their last 2 games.
To improve as they now have their top goalie back in the net. Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK, a little bit of an update. This comes from Connor Hughes, who covers football out in New York. Coaching candidates believe that the race for John Harbaugh is down to the Giants and the Atlanta Falcons. The expectation is whoever the runner-up is on the John Harbaugh sweepstakes would ultimately turn their attention to Kevin Stefanski. So Giants and Falcons, it appears, are the candidates for both John Harbaugh and Kevin Stefanski's services, respectively. I think this goes to the conversation that we had off air. John Harbaugh reportedly wants full control of the football operations. He wants to be able to pick his players and be his own de facto GM. He'll probably have somebody that's in that capacity, but he'll be the one that's really having final say over the roster. I don't think that you were going to be able to get that if you wanted like the Packers or the Eagles jobs, or if the Bills were to come open, if they had lost over the weekend. I don't think that was going to be realistic there. So yeah, you were going to have to turn your attention to teams like the Giants or the Falcons that are willing to give you that kind of control over the roster.
I knew Joe Sheehan wasn't good enough to remain GM, but he is if he's just going to be a puppet master. So
he'll be great in that role.
That was they told him.
And then Matt Ryan is the Falcons GM, so he's probably like, "Yeah, man, go ahead.
I don't know what I'm doing here anyway, so just take it."
Wow.
So that's your latest update on the
NFL, ladies and gentlemen.
In 15 minutes, we'll get into questions and answers. 314-399-9646. That is the Air Comfort Service text line to get your questions in. Alex Bregman is officially a Chicago Cub. What does it mean for the Cardinals and their Brendan Donovan sweepstakes? We'll talk about it next year on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here, and the NFL playoffs got started this weekend, and they continued tonight, and DraftKings Sportsbook is the official sports betting partner of the NFL. Looking to tonight's game, Texans versus the Steelers. I don't see any way that the Texans don't cover this 3-point spread, so I'm going to be taking the Texans on the 3-point spread. Also love Aaron Rodgers under 203.5 passing yards and a Nico Collins anytime touchdown today. And get this, with DraftKings, they've got your back this NFL postseason with early exit protection. If the player in your eligible NFL prop bet goes down at any point in the first half, you still get paid in cash. With DraftKings, you're covered through the entire half. Why bet your player props anywhere else? They've also got live betting options throughout the game tonight between the Texans and Steelers. So download that DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code TANNER, that's code TANNER, to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER, 21 plus, physically present in Missouri. Eligibility and restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Additional terms at dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer. Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Rough road trip for the Blues over the weekend. They return home tomorrow night when they host the Carolina Hurricanes. We'll have pregame coverage tomorrow night starting at 5:30 with Alex Ferrario. Puck drop at 6:30 with Chris Carver and Joey Vitale. The Sports Center update is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin Heating and Air Conditioning dealer.
Cubs finally operating like a top 3 market. Congratulations to them and their fans. Good thing the Cardinals aren't trying this offseason because I think they're going to be a really good team alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK. Alex Bregman officially done with the Boston Red Sox. They decided, we're not going to operate like a big market team. We're good here. No trade clause? You want that? No, sir. We don't do that. You may have been the captain of our team last year, and we traded away Rafael Devers with the idea being you would be our long-term fixture in the lineup. But you want us to give you a no trade clause? No, sir. You can't do that. The Cubs were able to take advantage. 5 years, $175 million. Big money committed to Alex Bregman. Will they live to regret this in 5 years? Maybe. But for the next couple of years, I think it's a really nice signing for them. Alex, there seem to be some conflicting thoughts on what this means for the second base market. Some are of the belief Nico Hoerner could find himself out of a job now, and he could be on the move. Others, including Ken Rosenthal, who just tweeted out a video of him saying this, believe not only could Nico Hoerner continue to be a part of this for the Cubs long term, he could actually get an extension. And he could be around along with Alex Bregman in their infield. And that becomes kind of a duo that they start to build around along with Dansby Swanson. I think that makes a lot more sense. If you're going to go out there and sign Alex Bregman at this kind of a deal, I don't think you're trying to move $11 million just for the sake of getting better in your farm system. This appears to be a team that's ready to win right now. They got the manager in place a couple of years ago. Now they've added some pitching to the mix. They go out and get Alex Bregman. Just keep the core in place, including Nico Hoerner. If that's the path, I don't think you could have asked for a better landing spot for Bregman if you're a Cardinals fan than Chicago. They were never likely to trade for Brendan Donovan. The Red Sox were always a potential landing spot for either Brendan Donovan or Nolan Arenado. That feels very possible now. The optionality of it all is much better for the Cardinals today than it was 48 hours ago. What was your reaction to the Bregman signing in Chicago, Alex?
Well, it was just what you mentioned. Like, to me, I looked at this and saying, cool, that's another piece that falls off to where now you're getting closer to a Brendan Donovan move. I think you're waiting on Bo Bichette. I don't invest in the theory of Nico Hoerner's going to get traded now and that's put into this market. If I'm the Cubs, I keep my lineup as is. I just added a pitcher. I added a huge bat. And now I've got a roster that can compete, maybe the best team in the NL Central, barring what the Brewers decide to do. So now you're waiting for Bo Bichette. You're waiting for that to decide. And frankly, I don't know if the Seattle Mariners are in that conversation. The Red Sox probably are. So I saw this and I'm like, cool, we're getting closer to a Brendan Donovan solution here. And I do think this values the Cardinals because I've stuck with the Seattle Mariners one, and I'm going to stick with it until they say we're not trading for Brendan Donovan. They're not going to go pay Bo Bichette, at least in my opinion. I think they're more likely to go out there and trade for a piece so that they keep their roster as is. They don't overpay for a bat, and they just trade where they're strong in their minor league system. So I saw Bregman. It's like, this is the perfect solution. He signs in the Cubs. Wasn't even a team that the Cardinals would sniff about trading Brendan Donovan. Now other teams are going to have to go back and talk to the Cardinals.
By the way, Bo Bichette is meeting with Phillies officials today. If you want the Cardinals to trade Brendan Donovan, you should be rooting for that. That is best case scenario because I don't think the Phillies are a likely landing spot for Brendan Donovan either. So that keeps the Giants, the Royals, the Red Sox, and the Mariners all potentially at the table. By the way, if he does end up leaving Toronto, we'll see what happens on the, Kyle Tucker market. But if Tucker doesn't go to Toronto, maybe they get in on the Brendan Donovan sweepstakes as well. Mm-hmm. The Dodgers, I'm never willing to completely write them off either. They've had a history, by the way, of doing deals with the Cardinals. So once you start getting 3, 4, 5, 6 serious suitors for Brendan Donovan, and now the alternatives are off of the table, that's when you get a bidding war in place. And I think that's what the Cardinals have been hoping for all along. They just needed the dominoes to go in a specific kind of way for that to happen. And so far, fingers crossed, we're at the early stages of this, but it appears it may be going exactly the way that Chaim Bloom would have wanted.
And all of the big boys that you wanted to be in this sweepstakes are still in this sweepstakes. Like, that is the part that, like, because Chaim's sitting back and waiting, it could have gone poorly to where the Mariners trade for something or sign something, and they're like, damn, that was the team we really needed.
Ketel Marte ends up going to the Seattle Mariners.
And then Chaim's like, man, that's the team we really wanted. Now what do we do? Now you're waiting for the secondary team. Man, all of these big dogs are still in the conversation.
And then if Ketel Marte was traded to Seattle and Bregman comes out of nowhere, goes to San Francisco, it's like, oh, believe that's not good. And then suddenly you have the Cubs are screwed. They have nothing that they can do. They end up going out and getting, I don't know, Bo Bichette. These are the kinds of dominoes that could have been potentially problematic for the Cardinals. That it didn't go that way at all so far. And the hope would be that they continue going in a positive direction for them.
Yeah, and if that scenario had played out, that's when we got to the conversation on Friday about, like, hey, is there a scenario where you hold on to Donovan? And you guys said, no, you have to move on from him, right? You have to get some assets, even if it's not exactly what you're looking for. But, yeah, I think you guys are spot on. I said this Friday, I think your hope was that you would get a third team to get involved in this bidding war, because I think there's two right now. I think it is Sanford and Seattle, but I think there's a reason he's not been dealt. Neither's meeting the asking price. The hope is you get a third team in, and Boston would be the one maybe that gets involved now, potentially, where Chaim says, hey, look, I know this Boston system well. Here's who I want. See if we can make a deal. And then you can go back to Seattle and say, hey, Boston's offering this. If you don't want Donovan, well, then too bad. You got to bump up the offer here if you're going to get him. So I think it has played out perfectly for the Cardinals. I also think it kind of helps out with the Arenado sweepstakes as well, because if you are the Red Sox now, they do need to upgrade either at third or second base. That is a requirement for them. And if they don't get Bo Bichette, which I don't think they're going to, then it comes down to, okay, how much are we willing to part with our prospect system even more, right? Because it's going to cost them nothing to go out and acquire Arenado. Meanwhile, it would cost them some decent prospects to go out and acquire Donovan. So maybe you've got the out now on Nolan Arenado that the Cardinals have been looking for all offseason long. And BK's been looking for.
Who could have seen it coming?
But it hasn't happened yet, okay?
He's not getting traded.
Hey, if you can take a victory lap over the picks from this weekend,
I would.
I can take a victory lap over
happened
this.
yet, though. Yeah. Ours was confirmed.
I can confirm I went 5-0 this weekend on my picks.
Yeah,
I can confirm that Nolan Arenado is going to be traded at some point.
You can, and we just will clip that for when it doesn't happen.
Coming up next, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers here on BK and Ferrario. Alex, my overall picks from the weekend were not great, but my plays over on Underdog went pretty well. I have my best ball fantasy, which is going on right now. Got a couple of teams that appear to be advancing to the next round. I also had some picks that ended up going really well for me over there. And tonight, I like Kenneth Gainwell to go higher than his receiving yardage total, which is at 33.5. I've got Nico Collins going higher than 71.5 receiving yards. And I've got a gimme pick. Open up the Underdog app each and every day. Check out what they have for you in terms of their promos. For me, Aaron Rodgers higher than 0 combined passing and rushing yards. I do think he'll be able to get to that.
I don't know about that. I don't know if I'd label that as a gimme, but I'm glad Underdog's handing it out. This is why you need to be using the app. Super simple to do. BK just told you how you pick your favorite player to go higher or lower on certain stats, and you can win up to 5,000 times your cash today. So what are you waiting for? Download the app today. Use promo code BKO to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code BKO. Underdog, make plays, win money. Must be 18 plus and present in Missouri. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncpgambling.org.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers from the 314. Guys, did you see Brady Tkachuk's interview in Ottawa over the weekend? Sure didn't seem happy to me. Do you think the dramatic fans have pushed him out in Ottawa and he wants to be traded now? Could the Blues make a deal?
So, do you guys know what's going on with all of this?
This is the Linus Ullmark thing, right?
So
There's
for
been a
people
bunch of
that
speculation.
So for people that don't know, I think it was last week, a random formerly Twitter account was created, and they essentially tweeted out saying, hey, Linus Ullmark is away because his fiance found out that he was cheating, and she leaked it to all of the other players' wives and girlfriends when they were on the road that players cheat, and that's why he's away. Started the account, put that out there, and then deleted it.
That was all alleged.
Yes, it was all alleged. It was a random X account that was just created, and then so that took on a storm of its own, like rumors typically do. Sure. Their general manager, Steve Staios, put a statement out that basically said this is trash, which led to more speculation, and then that's where Brady Tkachuk has addressed this one. I don't think this has anything to do with Brady Tkachuk being frustrated in Ottawa and everything to do with this disgusting rumor that was put out there for a guy who was away for personal reasons. So, no, I don't think this is Brady Tkachuk's going to get traded. Look, Ottawa's one of the worst teams in the Eastern Conference this year. That would lead more to, does Brady Tkachuk want to change the scenery than all of this speculation? But, no, I don't see them trying to trade him, and I don't see Brady Tkachuk wanting out. If he's going to get moved, it's going to be when he's a free agent and decides where he's going to go sign.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line from the 314. Guys, do you expect Matthew Joseph to be on waivers or traded today based upon his lack of skating? Wasn't on the ice, right?
Yeah, that's the part that I find really weird. The fact that he wasn't on the ice today, they skated, he wasn't an extra, he hasn't been playing in the last few games, so that tells me it's not a maintenance day for him unless he's got something else. They don't have to put him on waivers, though. So unless there's a trade, if Bukestad comes back, he was skating on the third line today because Thomas was out, they would move Pius Suter to the IR because it's retroactive to his injury, so they can just keep him there until he comes back, and you don't need a roster move. So it's a little odd to me. We'll find out in about an hour if he's placed on waivers once that waiver wire transaction is leaked out.
According to Puckpedia, by the way, Pius Suter is on IR.
Is Bukestad off of it yet?
They have Suter, Holloway, and Bukestad all on IR.
Huh. I thought they didn't put him on
I don't
IR.
think they did either.
I don't know.
So
unless it went through and we didn't see it.
It's very
Could have
possible.
been a paper transaction that never
very
actually
possible.
was
So
publicized.
if that's true, because I thought I counted through that before, but if he's on IR, then yeah, they have to make a roster move. And if Joseph isn't there, then that would tell me that, yeah, he's on waivers, but we won't find out for another hour.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's a trade. If there was a trade, it would have been announced by now.
I agree. My guess is that's probably, I mean, it is one of the paths of least resistance.
I'm just surprised they do him over Fabry.
Maybe it's a money move?
Maybe, but you're still paying him if he clears waivers.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hope is maybe someone takes him.
Yeah.
Maybe. And it's possible somebody takes him.
Because you saved $2 million
2.9
with the rest of the year.
Yeah.
The way that I had like 1.5.
Yeah.
$2 million.
It's very possible. And I'm glad that's the way they're going. Not that I'm glad they're waiving Joseph and potentially losing him. I'm just glad they're not putting Stenberg down.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line from the 618. Did you guys touch on the Jags press conference thing? Super curious of your perspective. Did you guys see this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for anybody that didn't see it, there was a reporter, not a sports reporter, but a local reporter down in Jacksonville who, after the game, basically told Liam Cohen in the press conference setting, keep your head up, you're doing a great job, Duval. Woo, yeah. It's like a little pep speech kind of thing.
You could tell he was uncomfortable.
So was I.
I probably never even would have seen this. Listen, I cover Mizzou athletics for a really long time, both as a student reporter and then eventually now in the current capacity. There's a lot of student reporters that are covering the team. You see stuff like this. Like, you see silly things that take place in press conference settings. It's not the end of the world. That being said, I think where this became a story was Adam Schefter tweeting out how great of a moment this was to see it in the press conference.
Was it a credentialed member?
Yeah.
That's the part that
This is the kind of thing that, I'll take you kind of behind the curtain a little bit. This stuff happens occasionally in a non-press conference setting, where whether it's you texting with a coach, manager, GM, whatever, or just talking with them behind the scenes, like media members can have good relationships with the people that they cover. That's possible. Being friends with them, maybe not, but having good relationships, that's fine. Doing this in a press conference setting where everybody is trying to get a job done, and most of those people that are in the press conference are on deadline, that's where it becomes a bit problematic. And the idea that a fellow member of the media in Adam Schefter would tweet out what a great moment in a press conference, like it's weird. It's weird.
Yeah, it's
not a great look for Schefter more so than anybody else, in my opinion.
That's the part. I don't think it's something that looks good overall, that the individual gets credentialed and it becomes a social media thing. But yeah, the worst part is Schefter saying how awesome it is.
I think media people care a lot more about this than fans do. I think fans probably saw this and they were like, okay, cool, and moved on. And I think media members saw it and probably were like, that's weird. And then saw Adam Schefter's tweet and they were like,
that's
okay,
weirder.
Schefter, hold on. Let me explain why this is actually not something you want to do. Because Schefter not only got a lot of attention for it, because Schefter has, let me see here, 11 million followers on Twitter.
Holy crap.
So when he posts this, it is basically publicizing this moment. And he said this is an awesome post-game exchange between a reporter and Jaguars head coach Liam Cohen. I think that's really what the conversation is about, is people in our industry saying, Schefter, this is actually not something we should be calling positive attention to.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I don't think most fans care one way or the other. I think it's about media members sticking up for their own industry, in my personal opinion.
Yeah. I just think it looks weird, but it was a non-thing until Adam Schefter decided to talk about how great it was.
From the 813, you guys butthurt about it? No. I don't know how much more clear I can be.
I scrolled past it.
Doesn't bother me.
I scrolled past it.
I saw it, listened to it, I was like, that's weird, and then moved on.
Yeah. I actually scrolled past it. I'm like, oh, that's really awkward for Liam Cohen. You could tell he wanted it to end.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, God, can we move on, please? I just lost a
I might do that
playoff
at an
game.
Ollie press conference this year after a tough loss. Ollie, you keep your head up. It was the bullpen's fault, not yours.
314-399-9646. That is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. Last one here. Guys, which team do you think will get back to contending quicker, the Blues or the Cardinals?
I think it's Probably the Blues, barring trades that take place this offseason. If they make trades of guys like Thomas and Kyrou, then depending on what comes in return, I think you could be along the same timeline as the Cardinals.
I'll go Cardinals. And the reason I'll say it, it's not that it's any easier, but you can win in baseball without superstars in a batting order, because you develop a pitching pipeline. Look at the Brewers, right? We went back and forth on if Yelich is a star or not, but they don't necessarily have that guy. But look at their pipeline. Like, Mizorowski's coming out of nowhere, and he's electrifying baseball with his stuff. Like, you can win with just pitching. In hockey, I don't know if you can win without a star. And the toughest part for the Blues is how they're getting that guy. And it's a tough question for the Cardinals, how they're going to figure it out in their lineup. But in hockey, it's a lot harder to win without that guy now than I think it ever has been. So I'm going to say it's going to be Cardinals first.
Contending is tough, though. Like, if you label it as contending, like, I think both are very difficult, especially when you look at the landscape of where the juggernauts are. Like, making the playoffs is one thing. Contending in the playoffs is another.
Yeah.
I think if you got the pitching, I think I would call you a contender. Now, like, I was higher on the Brewers than BK was this year and was proven wrong. But, like, I think people across baseball viewed them as a potential contender. Not everybody.
In 15 minutes, we'll get into in or out. My answer would be the Cardinals.
I was going to say, you stayed away from that one a little bit, buddy.
You guys probably know where I lie on this. I think the Cardinals are a little closer. I think they have received a lot more flack for the way that they've gone about things in recent seasons than the Blues, even though they're basically in the same positions. And they have been the whole time. But people have not wanted to acknowledge as much. All right, in 15 minutes, in or out. But coming up next, are the Eagles and Packers also going to find themselves in the coaching carousel by the end of the week? We'll talk about that next year on 101 ESPN.
Brady, pressure, steps up. Touchdown, San Francisco. It's McCaffrey.
Tom Brady was great on the call yesterday. He was as good as Tony Romo was bad. Boy, was it a bad day for Tony Romo, by the way.
Tony's not been good for 2 years
Did you guys just enact the whole put it on mute and listen to the crowd noise thing?
I would have for that game. I honestly would do it for Brady, too. I thought he was fine. I still don't think he's great.
I thought he was pretty good yesterday.
Olsen's running laps around him. He's on the number 2
Olsen's
team.
the best.
Like, come on.
Dude, we went from Greg Olsen. Well, it's sidebar here. We went from Greg Olsen on Saturday to the Tony Romo experience on Sunday, and I had whiplash from how horrible, how much of a downgrade it was on the call. It was crazy.
I'm kind of with T-Bone. Like, Brady's fine. It's not like I'm, like, losing my mind over how great
He's
it is.
better than he was last year, but, like, come on, that's like a low bar.
I'd rather him talk about some of the ongoings of the Vegas Raiders than I would listen to him break down games.
I do think he's pretty
I don't
good.
know about that.
He's not Greg Olsen, but honestly, nobody is. I think Greg Olsen's the best guy doing it right now. He was really good yesterday. I thought he had a good game. And that game gave him a lot to work with, by the way. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Audio courtesy of Fox as the 49ers ultimately take down the Philadelphia Eagles by a final score of 23-19. That was the game that I was the most wrong about. I was wrong about a few different games this weekend, but like Bears-Packers, 50-50 coin flip. Bills-Jags, coin flip. I thought the Eagles would win in a rout against the 49ers. That Niners defense, we saw it like the week before. It's an atrocity. They are so beat up. It's not by their own doing. Like, they're just hurt. They have almost none of their starters available. Their offense, was it the first quarter that George Kittle tore his Achilles?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
God, that's
They came into the game without Ricky Pearsall as well. Their offensive line is a bit banged
Trent
up,
Williams
including Trent
issue.
Williams, who came in hurt and missed half of the practices last week. Like, this is not the 49ers that we saw for most of the season. And so I came in thinking Eagles are going to be able to expose this. I know we haven't seen their offense do it much this season, but if they're ever going to do it, now is the time. Well, not only did it not happen, it was one of the worst performances by everybody not named Saquon Barkley of the season for the Eagles, including, by the way, their defense, which was not good yesterday and had been good for most of the season. It was the one thing they had going for them. So the Eagles are now going to get a lot of talk over the next couple of days, I would imagine, Alex. Is this a team that's about to emerge into the coaching carousel? Because I think they should. There's one decision I think Brady failed here that did not get enough criticism yesterday. And to me, it was the single biggest gaffe by any coach of the weekend. Nick Sirianni, down 23-19, final drive of the game for the Eagles. It's 3rd and 11. Hurts throws an incomplete pass. So it's 4th and 11 from the 49ers' 21-yard line. There are 43 seconds remaining in the game. And he calls a timeout. At the time, the Eagles had all 3 timeouts remaining, and they've got 1 down to potentially convert. They have to go for it because they're down by 4, because they had missed the extra point earlier in the game, which loomed large there. But they're down by 4. They've got to go for it here. They take the timeout, which effectively ends the game if they don't convert on 4th down. If they had not taken that timeout and either just got the play call in, or, by the way, their play call was 4 verts. Like, they didn't need the extra time to do that. But either get the play call in earlier or just take the delay of game to give yourself more time, and it's a 4th and 16. At least then you also have the out of your defense going onto the field, getting 3 consecutive stops and stopping the clock after all 3 plays, because then you can get the ball back with probably around 30-ish seconds left in the game. They don't give themselves that out because of the timeout. They never really mentioned it on the broadcast. To me, that in and of itself was a fireable offense for Nick Sirianni without anything else that had taken place either yesterday or the rest of the season. And then you get, all of the other stuff.
Yeah.
I think he should be let go. I don't know how you run it back with this current core. And I know people are saying trade A.J. Brown. Cool. And take on $50 million in dead money. And also, good luck.
And also trade him for why? Because he dropped a football? He dropped a pass?
He was so bad yesterday.
Totally get it. But, I mean, he's also had most of the season rarely used because of the coaching scheme that they have.
Yeah, it's malpractice.
Yeah.
They need to move on from him, and there are enough now good coaches available on the market, whether it's Stefanski or Harbaugh or, hell, Mike McDaniel. Just bring him in and run the best run offense that you've got in the NFL with Jalen Hurts and Saquon
Maybe
Barkley.
LaFleur with Green Bay, depending on what happens.
This is a team that needs to make a change.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And on top of the terrible decision there of not or using that timeout, like, also, let's just look at recent history. Past the Super Bowl win, which I think a lot of people are going to look at, but he's had problems with Jalen Hurts. He's had problems with A.J. Brown. He's getting into the face of one of his best receivers. And then you have the malpractice that wasn't just in one playoff game. We've seen it a lot with Sirianni of time management, using timeouts the worst way possible, but barely scraping by because the roster that has been put together is just so good. I would move on from Sirianni in a heartbeat. I still have Jalen Hurts, who's in his prime. I have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, who are elite playmakers on the offensive side, and my defense is Super Bowl contending worthy. The coach is the problem. The coach has been the problem. We've talked about it for the last 3 years. He's a miserable you-know-what, and they stuck with him because he won a Super Bowl. The only thing the Eagles should be looking at is, let's make a change here, bring in a competent head coach who could get the best out of our weapons, and then if we underperform next year, now we can look at the personnel and say, let's move on from some of these guys.
Yeah, I'm with you. I would get rid of him. I mean, you bring up the fourth down decision. It's one of many that have come up with him, and I'm glad to know that you saw that and pointed it out, because when I saw it in the moment...
I couldn't believe it wasn't being discussed on the broadcast.
There's times where I see, like, fourth down decisions where teams go for it, and I'm thinking to myself, boy, this is stupid. And then the broadcast is like, this is the smartest decision ever. And then I'm like, okay, I'll text the group because, like, no, yeah, this is smart. I'm like, okay, maybe I'm just the only one. So that's why I didn't text the group, because I thought maybe I was missing something. But for Sirianni,
I was losing my mind. I was watching this at my in-laws' house, and I was looking over, like, waiting for anybody to comment. I was like, did he really just... I thought for sure the 49ers had taken a timeout or something. Something had happened.
The refs announced it wrong.
I was like, there's no way the Eagles just took a timeout when the only way they can get the ball back is by having all three timeouts. Yeah. I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked.
And everybody at the dinner was just like, BK, calm down. Yeah. Calm down. It's okay. It's
they
just
were
a
looking at me
game.
like, yeah, man, I guess he took a timeout.
BK's breaking down why this is absurd.
You mentioned the roster around him and how it's uplifted Sirianni's decision-making. I think the things that it's the roster, and then it's you go back to a couple years prior, it was the coordinators, right? He had Jonathan Gannon, who got a job, and he had Kellen Moore, if I remember correctly, as an OC. Those are the guys that have helped really uplift him. It's not so much what he's done, because if he's in that role of not calling plays, and he does have those good coordinators that we've talked about, okay, that's great, long as that means he's got command of the roster, right? Well, 2 years ago, it was, hey, him and Jalen Hurts don't even talk when they walk by each other in the hallway at the facility. You can't be fighting with your franchise quarterback because you can't get on the same page.
And now challenging your wide receiver.
Exactly. And now you're not scheming things up. And by the way, you failed on this hire of an offensive coordinator. And then you look at it as well.
And he hired him because he's his buddy, by the way.
Exactly. And then you look at this as well. I know this one wasn't as bad as it was, I think it was 2 years ago. This is technically their second collapse under Nick Sirianni. You go back 2 years ago, they started off hot. They lost like 5 of their last 7. Then they get bounced in the first round of the playoffs by, I think, Tom Brady on one leg. And then you go back to this year, and I understand they were 11-6 or 11-5 going into this game. But you look at them and you go, man, I just don't. You never trusted them all season long. And I don't think this is a, hey, well, if Sirianni gets to hire his coordinators, maybe he gets that right. No, man, he's been fighting with this whole roster this entire time. This feels like the Mike Matheny situation, where the roster or the coordinators were lifting him up, and they were doing enough to carry him, even though he would make bad decisions throughout and fight with guys internally.
From the 3-1-4, didn't this guy just win the Super Bowl like 12 months ago? Are you guys being serious? It would be like if the Rams had fired Mike Martz after Hakeem dropped the ball. He did. He won the Super Bowl, and I will give him full credit for doing so. You know who else won a Super Bowl in Philadelphia? Doug Peterson. And he was let go a couple of years later because he was no longer doing a good job. And then he goes on to the Jaguars and says, oh, yeah, he's not a very good head coach. He had unbelievable talent and had a great run in a postseason. Sirianni is propped up by those around him. He, like, Sean McVay with the Rams.
Sirianni, my phone just went to Siri.
With the Rams, Sean McVay is the one that makes that work. He can lose his offense coordinator every offseason, his quarterback coach every offseason, and it doesn't matter because he makes it work. How many times has he lost his defensive coordinator? Like 3 over the last 5 years? to other either defensive coordinator opportunities or head coaching jobs. Brandon Staley was one. Raheem Morris was another. He's probably going to lose his guy this offseason as well.
Yeah, that's okay.
Nobody worries about it because Sean is the one that makes it work. When Sirianni loses a coordinator or two, oh boy, this could go to hell quickly. And if he gets it right the next year, maybe it'll work this time around. Do you really want to live that way every offseason if you're the Eagles when you're in an all-in era? My answer to that would be no, especially now that there are legit solid coaches out there on the market. And if Matt LaFleur, for example, becomes available, get him on the first plane to Philly and just go hire him because he'll get this sorted out. Guy's an excellent head football coach. I think Stefanski's a really good head football coach. I think Mike McDaniel, because you're all in, bring him in for the next 3 years. If things go south, whatever. Maybe we win a Super Bowl at some point in that 3-year stretch, and he's able to maximize what we have in the running game with Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley. But to me, that's a no-brainer. You just fire him, bring in somebody else. Do you guys feel the same way about LaFleur? Because there's a lot of conversation today on what his future is going to hold, and it seems like it's very much up in the air.
I don't, because I still think that roster that it was able, even though they completely imploded, which I guess could be part of the concern, but that roster that led the Bears at half, I didn't think that roster was very good, and LaFleur found a way to make that Packers team look like they were going to win that matchup against the Bears. I wouldn't move on from LaFleur. I think that roster is not fully prepared to be a contender. If they can put the right players, playmakers around them on the offensive side, I think I would give LaFleur another year's shot before I'd move on from him.
I think you either have to extend him or let him go, though.
Yeah, I would
extend that.
Yeah. I would, too.
Yeah.
I think he's a good coach. And I think, like you mentioned, the roster, I agree. I don't think they've got the offensive roster around them. Defensively, they got hurt. They lost their best pass rusher in Micah Parsons. I also think his quarterback has a limited ceiling, and I think he's getting the best out of that. That's my personal opinion on the matter with his quarterback.
If I'm the Packers and I felt like I had a chance to hire John Harbaugh, to me that's an upgrade that could get my team to a Super Bowl. But if it's not Harbaugh, I don't think any of the other contenders match.
And if Harbaugh wants control of the roster, you can't hire him either.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even hire Harbaugh. Even if he didn't want control of the roster, I don't think he's as good a coach anymore as LaFleur.
I think he's a good leader, and I think he can get you to be a Super Bowl team.
I think you need a guy that opens up the offense for Jordan Love. I don't think this is a leadership problem in Green Bay. We can have that conversation about Philly. I think that I would agree on.
Okay.
I think this is an offensive problem. I think they need a ceiling for their offense.
I don't think the offense was the problem.
Yeah,
their defense is awful. This guy's getting head coaching opportunities, or at least interviews. Hafley, their defensive coordinator. Their defense has been terrible since Micah Parsons went down. Yeah. They have won exactly 0 games since Micah Parsons was hurt.
Yeah, that's who ished the bet in that game. I mean, offensively, I didn't expect that team to put up that many points. I know Bears' defense is bad, but so was the Packers' offense.
They missed 2 field goals in the game. Otherwise, they would have put up 33.
Yeah,
the offense was fine.
Yeah,
that was the least of their
It's
concerns.
not about like taking the offense to the next level. What I mean is, to me, you need an offensive mind to run the show there in Green Bay, because I think you want someone.
LaFleur.
I agree. I think you want LaFleur there because I think he unlocks that offense. Right?
I see what you're saying.
I think if you put Harbaugh in that spot, I think we're talking about Jordan Love as just like this middling average quarterback that doesn't do anything that you really enjoy.
I thought you were saying the offense needs to be unlocked.
I agree. The defense is the one that's the problem. I agree with that. Their defense was awful in the home stretch and really all season long. You're right about that. He needs a new defensive coordinator hire, but I think with LaFleur, he's the guy that you want there because I think he gets the best out of Jordan Love. I think if you bring in Harbaugh, I think Love actually takes a step back.
He's T-Bone. That's Alex. I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. By the way, as much as we break these games down, it really did just come down to, hey, who's the better coach-quarterback combination?
Oh, cool. So fire LaFleur, then he's not the good coach. Because Ben Johnson's a better coach, so fire him.
Jordan
Love was not as good as Caleb Williams.
You
ready to give Caleb Williams his
I said it in the open, man. I'm done ishing on him. The guy found a way to do it. I think a lot of his success, though, is because of a mind that is Ben Johnson. I think I give a lot of credit to Ben Johnson because Caleb Williams not all of a sudden just turned into this. I think a lot of this is because of Ben Johnson's ability.
I think some of it is. You see that throw on 4th and 8?
Dude,
that was not Ben Johnson.
Sure.
That's one of the best throws I've ever seen.
Sure, but the fact that he's able to make that throw, because last year's Caleb Williams is probably getting sacked or running out of bounds before he makes that throw.
I think some of that is just experience. I think he's finding a way to translate his game to this level. I think Caleb is legit. I think this is real. And he needed structure. I think some of what you're seeing with him is I will also give a lot of credit to Ben Johnson, not only on the offensive side of the thing. I think culturally, he has changed things in Chicago. I don't know if you guys saw the post-game stuff, him inside of the locker room. He's playing into the rivalry with Green Bay, which I think is awesome. I think we need more of that in the NFL. These guys are buying in to what he's selling, and that matters in the NFL. I just think Caleb is special.
He gets 33% of the pie for success. 66% goes towards Ben Johnson.
I think he's really good. I don't know if he can win a Super Bowl.
Caleb?
Yeah. Because I see a lot, because like as much as he was great.
I don't know if he can win it right now.
I agree.
I think he can win one. I would buy into him as much as anybody in the NFL right now.
Yeah, I'm still a little skeptical because as great as he was in the second half, which helped them win that football game, like I can't take that away from him. He was the main reason that they fell so far behind early on in that first half because he was missing guys that were wide open early on in the game.
Let me ask you this a different way, and we'll get to in or out on the other side here in just a moment.
Out.
If you had to buy in on one team, you're buying stock in one team right now. You're buying the next 5 years of their future. Which NFC team, coach, and quarterback would you most want to buy into their stock?
Oh, it would be the Bears. It'd be the Bears.
I don't think it's even close.
How many more years does he have on that rookie contract, Caleb?
3.
2 years remaining on the rookie deal and then the fifth-year option.
Yeah.
Which would be like 25.
It'd be the Bears because you could build a defense that's capable around him with how cheap he is.
I don't think it's close.
No.
Is there anybody else that's even in the conversation?
I still like the Lions.
Philly with the coach, I could put Philly up in this conversation.
Yeah, I still like
with Jalen Hurts.
I think so. They won a Super Bowl with him and a bad head coach.
I still like the Lions too.
Their defense.
Yeah, and I think they can upgrade that defense still. Like
I still like the Lions, and it's going to come down to getting a better offensive coordinator with Dan Campbell. But I still think they have elite pieces.
If I expanded this to the AFC, how many teams are you then taking over Caleb plus Ben Johnson over the next 5 years? You're buying into their future.
I would nominate New England. Yeah, for sure. So they've got the rookie deal as well. So
and part of me wants to do it. And I don't know if it's just because of how they are now, but part of me wants to do the Texans.
Ooh.
Maybe
BK doesn't invest in that one.
I'm a little skeptical on them.
I like Stroud. I just don't think Stroud is
You're a big Jacksonville fan. Would you put Jacksonville in that?
I don't think they're in the same conversation as Caleb.
I don't think so either.
I think they're just a lesser version of that. Because Trevor is erratic. I mean, we saw it with the interception at the end of that game. He tries to fit things into tight windows as well. I think Caleb is just a better version of Trevor, and I think Ben Johnson is just a better version of Liam Cohen.
You're not going to agree with the one I'm about to throw out there, but I would put Buffalo in this because I've got Josh Allen. For 5 more years, and you can retool that roster on the fly. I mean, look at what he just did this weekend.
That's the one I was going to throw out there.
Yeah, I mean, that was a hell of a performance by Josh Allen to win that football game this weekend.
And then I'll throw out Kansas City.
No. They're old.
With Mahomes and Andy.
They're old.
I think I did see they have the worst cap situation going into the offseason in football.
It's all fake.
I shouldn't ignore.
There's the narrative.
It's all fake until it's not, as BK would say.
All fake. They'll be fine.
Coming up in about 15 minutes, Indiana is a Cinderella story only because of their history of the program. This team, it's a bully. We'll talk about that in 15 minutes. In or out next here on 101 ESPN. 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line for in or out. You guys give us a scenario. We will tell you if we are in or out here on BK and Ferrario. Alex is pulling a Carrie or a Jamie as he is out of the studio as the segment begins. Hopefully he'll be back in shortly. All right, T-Bone, I'll go ahead and get us started since Alex is nowhere to be found as we begin the segment. Hey, man, you had something more important to do?
Let's just say it had nothing to do with me being on the phone or talking to somebody. I had to take care of some personal matters in the bathroom.
Okay.
Well, you really missed your ooh, ooh, ooh.
Well, why did one of you fill in for
one
me?
segment where you need to be here at the very start, man. Every other segment, I just filibuster for the first 5 minutes.
Damn, well, sorry. It's either I go do what I needed to do, or this studio was going to smell pretty awful for the rest of the evening.
I appreciate you doing that somewhere
Could
else.
have used the trash can, but I don't think anybody would have appreciated that.
I certainly would not have.
So
All right.
sorry, nature called.
Thank you. For
Do you need me to explain it anymore?
Nope, that'll do.
That'll do, pig. That'll do.
All right, guys, in or out, neither of the number one seeds in the NFL playoffs will reach the Super Bowl this year. Both of them will lose prior to the Super Bowl, Broncos and the Seahawks.
Out. I think the Seahawks get there.
Wow.
I'm not really sold on any of these other teams. Without Kittle, 49ers, good luck. I don't think the Rams are that good. And they may be able to get past the Bears. That Rams defense against the Seahawks offense is going to be the part that I'll be interested in.
Yeah, I'm going to say out as well because I kind of think Seattle's getting out of the NFC as well. Denver, I don't have as much faith in. I do think one of them's coming out, but I think Seattle's path is easy. If they can take down San Francisco, well, we just saw that they were able to dominate them just 2 weeks ago, so I feel pretty comfortable in saying that they're going to do that now that they're without Kittle. And then it just comes down to who do they match up with. I think their worst nightmare will be the Rams, but the Rams aren't playing their best football right now either, and it started with that Seahawks loss too. So I'm going to say out. I think Seattle can get to the Super Bowl.
I mean, I think neither of them end up getting there. Seattle's the one, though, that I have more belief in. If I had to have faith in one of these two teams, it would be Seattle because of their path and because their defense is as good as anybody does anything this year. I mean, you think about it, if you're just looking at one side of the ball, who does the best thing, it might be the Seahawks or, to me, the Texans' defenses. And that's why both of them, to me, I give them a fighting chance. Alex, what do you got for us today?
Guys, in or out, the Blues have another top pair defenseman in their future in Adam Juracek.
In. That guy's a stud.
He scored 3 goals in 2 games over the weekend. And Tanner, he deked a couple of defenders out of their skates in juniors hockey. My goodness.
I've seen the defenders in junior hockey, not hard.
He's got 13 goals, and he's a plus 23 so far in 28 games in the OHL.
Repeat yours in or out? Top
in or
pair?
out? Yeah, the Blues have another future top pair defenseman in their system in Adam Juracek.
I'll say in. The reason I hesitated, though, I mean, that's just a tough bar to clear to be top pair defenseman. And we're asking for a lot of pressure on Adam Juracek, who I think is going to be more offensive-minded than he is defensive-minded. And if that's the case, then I can see where he settles in more in the second pair. But why not? It's the only thing we can put our hope in on the Blues basket right now. So I'll say in.
There. For context, I said he's got 13 goals in 28 games in the OHL and is a plus 23. The year Alex Pietrangelo was drafted, he had 13 goals in 60 games and was a plus 29. And people have said Juracek's got a lot of Pietrangelo in him.
Yeah, he's Cale McCarr.
I said Pietrangelo, man. Did you not hear me?
I did.
There's a big
took in
difference.
an extra.
There's a really big difference.
Yeah.
T-Bone?
Follow along with me here. In or out?
boy.
If Josh Allen wins the Super Bowl with the Buffalo Bills, it will be more impressive than the Super Bowl runs that Patrick Mahomes has gone on.
Out. That 2023 Super Bowl run that Mahomes went on, it's the most impressive thing that I've seen.
Yeah, he's had a couple of impressive Super Bowl runs with some of those rosters that have been around him, so I'm out.
It's up there, though. I
was going to say, even with this roster, because I think that
the
Chiefs
difference
team,
is the run. So the Chiefs had to beat that Bills team and the Ravens to get to the Super Bowl, and then I believe that was the Niners Super Bowl, if I remember correctly.
The Ravens were a cakewalk, so don't really put them into the same conversation as the Bills.
It was the Eagles Super Bowl. One of the two. I did all the jumbles together.
Did they beat the Eagles?
They've had a lot of Super Bowls over the last 5 years or so.
He's actually not wrong.
said it with a smirk, and it just...
The path is a little different this time around.
Hey, man, when you got a good team, you get to brag about it.
Yeah, it was the 49ers Super Bowl.
I would say, because they haven't beaten the Eagles, right?
They did the first time around.
Did they? Why don't I remember
in 2022.
Who was their quarterback then? Was it still Jalen Hurts? Man.
That was a really good game, 38-35. That was the one that I won the $5,000 on.
I think I agree.
We won the $5,000 on that I didn't get paid for.
I think I'm out, and I think it is just because of the path, but I think it's probably the worst roster of the bunch. Of Allen, and then you look at Mahomes and his runs, because Mahomes at least had a pretty solid defense in all of them. This Bills defense stinks, man.
The run defense does. The pass defense is top 10 in the NFL.
That's fair, but I mean, it's like if Jacksonville, I think they could have won that game without throwing a forward pass last night or yesterday. And instead they wanted to get Lawrence involved, and I think it's what ultimately cost them. The thing I said was going to cost them was going with Lawrence too much. So I agree. I would say out, but I do think it is the worst roster of the group between Allen and Mahomes if they were to get there.
I think that's probably fair. The difference is the path.
Yeah.
Like not having to get through the other big guys, I think changes it a little bit. All right, 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line for in or out. You guys give us a scenario. We will tell you if we are in or out here on BK and Ferrario. From the 314, Alex, in or out? Pius Suter will be traded at this year's deadline.
I'd say out, but Jeff Merrick, who is going to join us on Thursday this week, he was the one that said it on the sheet that he said he's heard Pius Suter's name and wonders if Pius Suter could get moved. It would make sense. We didn't get to it on Friday. Maybe we'll get to it at some point. Man, there's a real part of me wondering if they try and just keep Braden Shen on this team. And maybe we can expand on it later on this week. But I'll say in, because I think people will be chasing centerman, and Pius Suter might be one that's pretty cheap with one more year. That's two playoff runs with Pius Suter.
I'll say in for all those reasons. Also, he doesn't have no trade protection, so you can send him anywhere.
Yeah, I would say in as well. I've been bringing this up to you guys off air where I've said I just don't understand why Suter's name never gets involved in anything, because you don't have to worry about no trade protection. He's on a very reasonable deal for a guy that can play second or third line center for you.
It really comes down to what the bigger picture is for the Blues.
Problem for the Blues, if you trade him, and you trade Shen,
you have no centers if you decide to try and move on from Thomas in the offseason.
My guess is you can stick with Bukestad for now, and you can just go out and sign a bunch of piece-it-together centers in your rebuild for next year. So
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. From the 801, Alex, in or out, the Blues will re-sign and extend Dylan Holloway prior to the end of the season.
I'll say in. I don't think that's at the top of the list right now for them. Doug even said this on the Broberg extension press conference that, look, he hasn't had the season that he wanted, nor is it the season that the Blues wanted, but they're going to want to re-sign him. It's just a matter of, does his agency say, hey, we're only going to do a couple of years? Because Doug made it pretty clear, they're not going to do a 2 or a 3 or a 4 year deal for Broberg, because they said, we'll just play it out and wait till this gets to restricted free agency. I think they'll engage with him. It's just a matter of if he's willing to sign long term, and what does he look like when he comes back from his injury.
I would say out for right now. I think they'll wait till the offseason to get this done when he hits restricted free agency. I don't think they're in a rush to go long term with him, because he hadn't had a great year, and maybe last year was just a one-off for him. I don't believe that. The other thing, too, for Holloway is he's dealing with injuries.
Well,
the injury bug has caught him, and that's something that can really derail what a guy does and becomes.
They're freak ones, too. It's not to the point where it's guy can't stay healthy. I mean, he got checked awkwardly, and it was his hip that got jacked up, and then this year it was the sprained ankle.
I get what you're saying. The problem, though, is once those start to add up, it starts to take away a guy's explosiveness on the ice. Mm-hmm. And what was Holloway's maybe best asset last year was his speed and his ability to get in on the forecheck. And I'm not saying he's going to become slow, like Pius Suter slow. No offense, Pius, but
no, he's slow.
He's definitely. Injuries are going to wear on him potentially.
And that's the thing that I do think if you're the Blues, you're looking at. It's do we want to go a long-term deal with Dylan Holloway? I mean, look, if he's willing to sign a 4 or a 5 year deal, I think they would do it as a bridge deal. I don't know if he's willing to do it for the underperforming year he's had.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK, you got BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. In about 15 minutes, we'll dive into the junk drawer. But next, Indiana is a Cinderella story, not based upon the way that this team has played, but based upon the program history. This team, though, it's a bully. We'll talk about it next year on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Blues lost twice over the weekend. They return to action tomorrow night when they come back home, and they'll take on the Carolina Hurricanes. We'll have pregame coverage tomorrow night starting at 5:30 with Alex Ferrario. Puck drop at 6:30 with Chris Garber and Joey Vitale. And Wild Card Weekend wraps up tonight here on 101 ESPN as we'll have Steelers versus the Texans. We'll have pregame coverage tonight starting at 6 o'clock with kickoff at 7:15. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin Heating and Air Conditioning dealer.
And the IU fans making it difficult for more in Oregon right out of the gate. De'Aaron Hill Jr. is the running back. The quick pass is intercepted. It's going to be run in for an Indiana touchdown. D'Angelo Pons on the first play of the game.
That's what it sounded like on ESPN as the first play from scrimmage was a pick six for the Indiana Hoosiers. That was a sign of what was to come the rest of the game. 56-22, the final score as Indiana leaves no doubt. They were by far the better team in this one, and they have been the best team in the country this season. Audio courtesy of ESPN with Alex and T-Bone on BK. Alex, we said all year long, two best teams in the country, Indiana and Ohio State, in our eyes at least. Indiana always felt as though it was the best team because they did the most things well. Indiana has the Heisman winning quarterback. They were fifth among all Power 5 teams this year in rushing yards per game. Think about that. They averaged 218 rushing yards per game, and this includes their two playoff games and the Big Ten championship game in which they have gone against Ohio State, Alabama, and Oregon. Three legit contenders coming into the season with blue chip talent littered across their rosters respectively. Indiana beat those teams like a drum outside of Ohio State, where that game at least came down to the wire. But over the last three games, Mendoza hasn't thrown for more than 225 yards, and they're crushing these teams, Alex. It's crazy what they're doing. The only comparison that I have in recent memory to what Indiana is this year is those early Nick Saban teams at Alabama, where they just do everything well. And it's like a python just suffocating the life out of you. And as you continue to get further and further into the game, it becomes harder and harder for you as a team to breathe. And by the end of it, you've just got nothing left. Mm-hmm. And what's left is Indiana bullying you, just as they did against Oregon on Friday night. What a performance.
It was. And I mean, like, I've grown so much more respect this season to just Curt Cignetti. I mean, that man is just cerebral for how he has his team prepared and how they go about their business. I mean, starting that game against Oregon with the pick six told you everything you needed to know. Like, it wasn't all about their Heisman Trophy winner. It wasn't all about their offense and what they'll do. They just pound you into the ground, and whatever game you want to play, they'll find a way to do it. At the beginning, it was Ohio State because of the carryover, but a couple of games into the season, it felt like it was Indiana. And if that game didn't show you that Indiana is the best team in college football and show you that this national championship game, I don't think is going to be very competitive, because this is just what Indiana is. I think they are the best shot. We've asked this question a lot. Will we see another tenure like Alabama was or like Georgia was, to where it is night and day the best team in college football? I think you're seeing the team's best chance of doing it with Curt Cignetti in Indiana.
Somebody on the text line said, would you compare it to 2019 LSU? I know that's the comparison that they had made on the broadcast. No, I don't think they're similar at all.
That was a one-hit wonder, wasn't it?
I'm not even talking about that. I'm just saying, like, this team right now, That team was Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Joe Burrow. It was the best offense that I've seen.
It had three superstars in the NFL right now.
Yeah, this team is not built like that. It's different. It is more similar to what Alabama was, where they were just dominant, and you'd leave the game saying, what the hell were we supposed to do there? It was the run game. It was the defense. Everything about it, they just pummeled you. And by the end, you were done. LSU was different. It was just explosives all over the place. Like, you can't cover these guys. It was a crazy passing game. So, yeah, that felt very different.
They didn't have a good defense, if I remember correctly, right? Like, it was fine, but it wasn't great like this.
Their defense was good, yeah. It was a very different roster construction to what we're watching with this team.
Yeah, and I think the part that's so amazing about Indiana, I think we all agreed going into the playoff, hey, the best teams in college football, it's Indiana and it's Ohio State. But, like, when we said that, we thought, okay, yeah, they're the most likely to get to the championship, but they'll be tested, right? Like, they'll get pushed a little bit. Like, maybe Alabama kind of makes it interesting for a half. Or, you know what, maybe Oregon does kind of keep it close like they did earlier in the year. No way, man. They've dominated. They haven't even blinked in these games. Ohio State gave them a fight in a meaningless football game, the Big Ten championship game. But they've dominated from start to finish. Like, I was watching that game, and it brought back nightmares from my experience in Bloomington this year, where I watched Illinois go down into halftime down 35-10, and they gave up 360 rushing yards in that game. And in this one, Mendoza, sure, he had 5 touchdown passes. The running game's the one that set everything up. And then defensively, you watch and you go, boy, you can't do anything against them. They're so suffocating. They don't give up explosives, which is what's most impressive. It's unbelievable how dominant they've been in this playoff, because I thought they could get to the championship, but not do it in the fashion that they've done it in.
See, Mendoza has more touchdown passes than incompletions through 2 playoff games.
It's ridiculous.
He had 2 incompletions and 3 touchdowns in the first game against Alabama. He had 3 incompletions and 5 touchdowns in this game against Oregon. It's absurd. I mean, the accuracy, he did it with his legs in this game as well. He was more mobile. He showed you his ability to go out there and help them on the ground. I mean, it's amazing. It really is. We did get a couple of texts, and I think they're fair questions from the 314. Guys, the average age of this Indiana team is 23 years old. It's like an NFL team playing against kids. And then Mahomes Longbody says this team from Indiana has a lot of older dudes, correct? Due to the COVID years. If I'm not mistaken, Kurt is going to be able to keep finding these 24-year-olds and not just younger guys? So I think the COVID seasons at this point are done. Like, that's basically a thing of the past, but everybody's getting 5 years of eligibility. It reminds me a lot, back in the day, Kansas State team on, this might even be a little bit pre your era, but Kansas State under Bill Snyder would go out and recruit JUCO kids. That was their thing. Like, the way that they recruited, they didn't really get a lot of high-level high school kids, but they had inroads with a lot of the Kansas area JUCOs. And so they just dominated with junior college recruiting. And it was their way to continue rebuilding that roster on the fly, because when you recruit JUCO kids, they're coming in at the age of 20, 21 years old instead of your typical 18-year-old kid. Indiana's basically doing that. And with the transfer portal, to answer the question directly, can they continue doing it? I think yes. They're going out there right now, and they're adding better talent to the roster. Like, the scary part about what Indiana has built, these might be their 2 least talented rosters that they will have in the Curt Cignetti era. Now, quarterback was obviously outstanding this season, but the overall roster talent, if you're just going by star ratings via A, high school recruiting, and B, portal rankings, they're only going to get better from here.
This was most of the James, or not most, but some of the James Madison guys.
And then guys that they were able to get in the portal last year. Now, you have proof of concept. Now you can go sell this to kids that are coming out of the portal, where you can go get, the top running backs in the country and say, hey, you want to be a part of this? We'll pay you, because we've got big boosters that are now interested in getting involved. We've got a national championship caliber head coach. We'll get you to the NFL, and, we'll win championships here. What's there not to like about being a part of that?
Bloomington, Indiana.
I guess.
You can suck it up with the talent there.
Yeah, most of these guys that they're recruiting, though, they're going to be there for a year.
Yeah, well, and it's all about, if you're these guys, it's all about legacy-wise. Like, what do you do in college football for 1 year? Do you win a national championship? Does it raise your NFL stock? Do you get drafted?
Exactly.
All of this is, I'm only here for a year. I don't care if I'm in Bloomington, Indiana. I'm going to go to the NFL because I'm a part of this. I mean, if I'm a college student, that's where I want to go.
100%.
I want to go where I know I'm going to win, and I know I'm going to get a chance to showcase my talent. Because I can go somewhere else and be the number 1 guy and showcase my talent, but if I don't win, how many people are really paying attention?
If I'm a quarterback or a running back, that's where I want to go.
Oh, yeah, especially a quarterback.
This guy gets me to the NFL. He maximizes whatever I am as a player. He develops players in a way that very few teams have shown the ability to do. Harrison's brother Master says, guys, that's a really bad take with the age thing. Every team has older players. Very dumb take. I disagree. I think it's a pretty good take, but it's a question that leads to an answer. And my answer is yes, I think this is sustainable. I think they can continue targeting these older players because I don't think this was by accident. You see this in college basketball. We've talked about it where the mid-major programs that are able to keep their talent in place from like 2015 to 2020, basically, the this transfer portal era, those were the mid-majors that were having success once they'd get to the NCAA tournament with guys that are 23, 24 years old. Well, in college football, we are now seeing a coach that has taken advantage of the rules as they are written. I can go out there and get older guys that have had more experience at the collegiate level and are ready to win right now. Maybe I don't recruit the 5-star player. Fine. He wasn't going to play for me in year one anyways. I'll go get the guy that's 22, has played elsewhere for 3 years. I know exactly how he fits into my system, and I will just use him that way. It's basically the Bill Belichick plan, but in the college level. And through 2 years, it's hard to say that it hasn't worked. This guy's been amazing at finding the right talent to plug into his system.
I hate him.
He's unreal.
Just spanked your team all over the football field.
I don't know if what he does would work at the NFL level.
Oh, I don't think it would.
If I'm an NFL team, though, I absolutely want to talk to him.
How old is he?
He's
Signetti,
60,
I think he's like 60.
I think. Yeah, the only thing that's going to stop Indiana is the fact that they've got a limited window for how old he is.
Yeah.
64.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
he's even
I
older
don't
than
even
I
know if NFL's in the cards if you're him. Unless
John
you go for
Harbaugh's what? Isn't he right around that same age? John Harbaugh's 63, so they're basically
but he's been in the NFL for a while. We're talking about Signetti just all of a sudden doing it at 65 years old.
I would call him if I'm one of these NFL teams.
I don't know if his
I've seen him
work in the
maximize
NFL.
quarterbacks.
Yeah, I don't know that his
Yeah,
style
but if I'm
works
the
in
Raiders and
NFL.
let's say I'm drafting Mendoza, the roster around him is going to be god awful. I don't know if you can
Seen him
maximize your
beat
quarterback
better dudes at the college level this year.
with a pretty damn good looking roster, though.
It's good. It doesn't have the same talent as these other teams. Like if you're just
It's got
going
more
by,
talent than the Raiders.
Sure, but if you're just going by talent, the talent deficiencies that, and I know this sounds crazy because we've seen how the games have played out. This speaks to how great of a coaching job it is by Curt Signetti. The talent gap between Oregon and Indiana would not be all that dissimilar from the talent gap between like the Las Vegas Raiders and the Chargers or the Broncos or the Chiefs next year. I don't know if his curmudgeonness, if you want to call it that, like his inability to be happy, I don't know how that would play in an NFL locker room. I have no idea.
Just ask Nick Sirianni.
But his coaching ability is good enough to have success at the NFL level. I'm pretty confident in that based upon what we have seen this year at the collegiate ranks. So if I'm the Raiders, I give him a call.
I also wouldn't answer if I'm Signetti. I'm making a ton of money and I'm a legend in Indiana. I don't need to go
And
anywhere.
Guess
That's
who's
fair.
in charge? This guy. Not Tom Brady, not
fair.
their ownership group. It's me.
And he gets to pick the talent.
Yeah, and
Like-
he is the GM.
like
He
those-
hasn't even hired a GM.
Those middle tier coaches, if they get the call, I get it. If you're a top tier guy like this to where you have a sustainable winning group, I'm not going to the NFL to get fired in 3 years because they don't like me because you put a
Indiana?
bad roster together.
He could win. He could do the typical Indiana thing now and win like 2 games moving forward. Never fired.
Yeah,
he's going to win a championship.
I'm
there.
good.
Coming up in about 10 minutes. Are teams getting overly aggressive on fourth down? You'll never believe it. T-Bone says yes. We'll get into that here in just a little bit. The Junk Drawer next year on 101 ESPN. Have you guys seen the monkeys in St. Louis?
The monkeys have passed away since, man. They don't perform anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, I think there's some of the monkeys alive, but they don't perform in a band anymore.
Did you really fall for that?
I can't believe he fell for that. I can't believe he fell for that. That's worse than your Keldon Sheaf comment you had earlier in the show.
I say this as a friend, you idiot.
Is that the same comp as grow up comment?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I apologize.
I knew right away you wasn't talking about the real monkeys that are roaming around.
Coming in hot, T-Bone.
In all seriousness, though, did you see the reports of this?
Yeah.
It's
several monkeys on the loose in St. Louis, and authorities have no clue how they got here.
Where did they come from is what I want to know.
Apparently, we don't know.
They didn't come from the zoo, right?
No,
allegedly.
Yeah.
It's got to be some science lab that got opened up and the monkeys escaped.
Oh, this is how Planet of the Apes began. I saw the movie.
And my parents just went and saw the movie Primate, and they said it's kind of like that too.
Oh, that's spooky.
Be honest, you would approach one of these and be like, "Oh, you're so
dude,
cute."
I'm afraid of monkeys.
What?
Really?
Yeah, dude.
I don't think they're these ones aren't that big, I don't think.
Yeah, they'll still F you up, man.
I know that's true. I wouldn't go up and approach it, but I would definitely
walk up to a tiny baby monkey
I'd
and
stand around and
jack
see
you
what
up.
it does.
No, I'm
What
good.
would you do if you were driving and you just saw a couple of them?
I would say, Luca, look, monkeys, and then keep on driving.
It's like in the original Jumanji when 4 of them take over the vehicle and just start driving down the street. But what in the world?
Yeah, that's like Jurassic Park when they're going through everything in those little carts. No, man, I'm good. I'll stay back.
I just
you guys can go see the dinosaurs. Those raptors are checking the fence for a reason.
When they put it out there and they're like, monkeys have escaped and they don't know where they came from. I'm like, well, this is problematic.
I truly thought it was AI. The conversation we had from a week or two ago when I first saw someone tweet about it, I thought, no, that can't be true. And I saw it come from reliable sources.
I'm just curious to see what they do. Let's see what monkeys decide to do with their couple of days out free.
Yeah, I mean,
haven't really destroyed anything, At least
far
I haven't
as we
seen.
know.
Well, I feel like somebody would be putting that out there that, hey, monkey came in to my house and broke it.
Can you imagine that's what you hear something in your attic? Remember I had those birds up there for a little while?
Oh, that's...
You hear something up there, you assume it's like a squirrel. You have monkeys that are living upstairs.
I think that thing would be doing a lot more damage than what a squirrel or a bird would be doing.
It's their house now.
Yeah,
All right, coming up in 15 minutes, we'll dive into some NFL quick hitters. But coming up next, are teams getting overly aggressive on fourth downs? T-Bone sure seems to think so, and he'll tell you why next here on 101 ESPN. With Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. There's something that stood out to T-Bone over the weekend as he was watching these NFL games. T-Bone, what was it?
Yeah, I've noticed, and maybe I just haven't noticed this over the last couple of years, but man, Dan Campbell has really put his fingerprint on the league because there is a lot of going for it on fourth down this NFL postseason, and I don't like it. I think sometimes I like it, but a lot of the time I think it's kind of stupid.
Can't have that type of stance. I don't like. Well, maybe sometimes.
Were there any that immediately stood out to you as like, oh, this is a huge
Dan
gamble?
Campbell's pupil and Ben Johnson going for it from his own 38, I think it was, late in the first half, down already 21-3, going for it. They don't get it. They give the great field position to the Green Bay Packers, and then they end up, of course, missing the field goal at halftime. So it didn't end up hurting them. But that one stands out to me. I thought McVay going for it for fourth down when they were up, I think already by 2 scores, going for it on a fourth down in that game against Carolina. They miss on it, and then all of a sudden momentum completely swings in favor of the Carolina Panthers. Also didn't necessarily like the Chargers going for it on fourth down inside the 5 last night. I think you got to take points right there rather than risk getting nothing in that situation. So I haven't liked a lot of the decisions we've seen on fourth down, and a lot of it is right around midfield. And I know people that are components of going for it on fourth down like it. Like I know you guys like the fact that teams are being aggressive from the 50. I just think in the postseason, you have to play 2 things. One, points matter. So we've seen a couple of teams not settle for field goals. They decide to go for it in enemy territory. But 2, when they're going for it at the 50, I think the field position game matters a ton when we get to the NFL playoffs. And instead of punting and trying to pin a team back, we're seeing a lot of teams try and go for it. And it has not seemed to work for them yet this postseason. I think it was over 50% failed over the weekend in the wild card round on these fourth down decisions.
It was exactly 50%.
Yeah, I don't like it. I think you have to play a little bit more conservatively, play the field position battle in these playoff games because of how just one little thing of being off on one play can flip momentum in a football game here in the playoffs.
It goes back to our philosophical disagreement on I think I play more to win, you play more not to lose, and neither one of those is like the right way to go about it, but they're just differing ways to call a game. Like the Ben Johnson one, in the moment, it's like, man, this is overly aggressive. I don't know if this is the right call here. They were down 21-3 for those that aren't familiar with the situation that T-Bone's talking about. Bears are down 21-3. Late second quarter, it's 4th and 4 from the Green Bay 37-yard line. They go for it and don't get it. So the Packers get the football back with about 35 seconds left in the first half, up 21-3 with the potential to go down and at a minimum kick a field goal. They ultimately do miss the field goal, no harm, no foul, but the situation that T-Bone's talking about there is 4th and 4, Green Bay 37-yard line. Do you kick the field goal? Do you punt? Do you go for it? What's the call there? I think going for it was fine. You're down 21-3. And if you punt the ball there, you give the ball back to Green Bay, you probably go into halftime. Green Bay gets the ball coming out of the half, and if they score, you're talking about like a legit 3-possession game, maybe a 4-possession game, depending upon if they get a touchdown coming out of the break. You need to get scores there. The odds of you coming back from down 21-3 are slim to none. Like, I had a bet on the Green Bay money line over the weekend. I did it on, I think it was Bet365 over the weekend. And they have a deal where if your team goes up by 17, your money line bet pays out because of how unlikely it is that the team that's down by 17 at any point in the game ends up coming back from that. So I thought it was the right call because the odds of them coming back without going for it there were slim to none. They didn't get it. They did eventually come back, obviously. We know how the game ends now, but I thought it was fine. And that's just symbolic of some of these moves. They've got to be aggressive, man. They've got to go for it in these spots. Otherwise, it's really difficult to find a way to come back. And these games are just so tight right now. Giving yourself that extra edge, those 4-point plays, it's massive.
Yeah, I personally enjoy it. And with the exception of that dumb one by Ben Johnson, which I kind of understand it, but on the other hand, you put yourself in such a terrible spot. If it's midfield, I just assume go for it.
Oh, somebody brings up a different one with the Bears. 4th and 5 at their own 32, down 14-3. That one I thought was overly aggressive.
And they got that one, if I remember correctly.
No, they missed it. They missed it, and then a few plays later, the Packers end up scoring the touchdown to go up 21-3.
Oh, yeah.
The fourth down, I should have, yeah. That one, the 4th and 5 from your own 32, I did not agree with that decision. That was overly aggressive. I'm not with you there.
If it's at the 50-yard line, man, just go for it. I mean, especially barring the circumstances that you're in, but it's not going to make that much of a difference, in my opinion. You're putting your defense on the field. You're expecting them to make a stop. But at the midfield point, you brought up the new kickoff rule and where you're starting. It's a 15-yard difference if you're turning the ball over at that position. So I prefer the aggressiveness. I'm glad that Dan Campbell has had that handprint all over the league. And I hope you see more of that because, frankly, it just creates more entertaining football when you get those.
I do think there are games where this would not be my...
Like the one I brought up, like McVay, I thought this one was crazy, too. So the scenario is the Rams get the football. It is 17-7 in favor of them. We are near the end of the second quarter. Yeah, Rams are up 17-7. They get the ball all the way down to the Panthers' 19-yard line, and it's 4th and 3. You kick a field goal, you go up 20-7 in that situation. And instead he goes for it on 4th and 3. I think he's going for the knockout punch. They don't get it. What happens? Carolina gets the ball, goes down and score.
That's one I agree with. Going up 20-7 there doesn't do a whole lot for you. If you score a touchdown on that drive, though, you're basically up 3 possessions. That's huge. The difference of a 17-7 lead versus a 20-7 lead is not all that significant. So I agreed with that call on that one personally. And you're at the Carolina 19-yard line. Like, you're putting them into bad field position. I've got to get 3 yards. I've got an unbelievable offense and some of the best weapons in the NFL. Yeah, I'll go for it there. Yeah, I got no issues with that one at all.
I kicked the field goal. I'd rather go up to where it requires 2 touchdowns than to come and tie the football game or take the lead, I guess, in that scenario. In the scenario where you go for it, you don't get it. Now it just takes a touchdown and then a field goal.
But it's 2 possessions either way.
It's 2 possessions either way, but getting to a field goal is a little easier than scoring a touchdown, right?
You've still got two halves, or you've still got a half of football to play.
Yeah, see, I would still rather go up by the scores, right? Force them to score 2 touchdowns on me in that scenario.
I agree.
Now,
I would rather force them to score 3. Like, that's the thing that I think you're not taking into account enough is you're looking at exclusively the downside. What happens if I don't get this? You also have to take into account the upside. If I do convert here, what is that worth? And what it's worth if you are able to convert in that spot. And this is just like, we're going through individual moments from the weekend, but it also applies to future games where you're going through this and wondering, like, is it the right call to go for this here? If you do get it, if you're the Rams, and at the time, again, up 17-7, late second quarter at this point, potential to go up by more. If you do get it and you ultimately score the touchdown, there's 2 outs here. One, you could potentially drain the rest of the clock in the first half so the Panthers don't get the ball again, and you can either score going into the half and then you get the ball coming out of the half so you can double dip, or I score a touchdown there, go up 24-7 and basically take complete control with the potential of, again, getting the ball coming out of the half, going up like 27-7, 31-7, game's over at that point in time. There's no way that the Panthers are going to be able to come back from it. By going up 20-7 and giving the ball back to the Panthers with about a minute and a half, I believe it was, left in the first half, you've got the opportunity for them to then go drive down and only be down by a score going into the second half. I'm trying to go up by 3 scores there.
Yeah, and I think the risk is too great. Like, I mean, you said 50% is what you complete these 4th down percentages on this year?
I don't know. 4th and 3, though, for this Rams offense, I don't know that that's necessarily a 50% play. I think it's higher odds than that.
I just think it's too risky.
Specifically, as opposed to, like, the Panthers offense.
I think it's too risky, and I believe in momentum, and I think if you wanted to pinpoint a moment when Carolina really flipped that football game, it was that stop. It was that stop. Rams get 0 points on the board. They come down, they score the touchdown, and boom, they go into halftime, and they're only down by 3 in that scenario. And then they really outplayed the Rams for that in second half.
Oh, no doubt.
And it pinpoints to that one play. I mean, the moment they failed on 4th down, their momentum
to the blocked
flipped.
Kick, but yes.
Yeah, but like the moment that stop occurs, like we can go back from whenever you want to. I think you can pinpoint that moment as, okay, momentum flipped in favor of Carolina from there, and the Rams never really got it back.
I don't know. I guess. I mean, a couple of drives before, Panthers had scored a touchdown. Rams get stopped. There was really no momentum at this point in time for the Rams anyways. Like they had also just finally got that muff. The muffed punt from the previous drive is how the Rams got the ball there to begin with. So it had not been a particularly well-played game on either side of things at that point in the game. But, I think it's a really interesting conversation to have, T-Bone, coming off of last weekend because it was such a big storyline. I mean, all of these teams were doing... Sean McVay is not exactly an aggressive caller on fourth down.
This is the first year where he's really turned to being aggressive because he was kind of aggressive like this in the regular season as well. And it's the first season that I can really pinpoint and say, okay, Sean McVay has turned. Because in years past, he kicks the field goal there and goes up by 13 points that we've talked about. This is the first time that I can really remember him being ultra aggressive when it comes to his fourth down decision-making process.
Griff says, BK, no one cares if you agree with the team's decisions on fourth downs.
Cool. So this segment was pointless then?
Hey, man, if you don't want to listen to the show, that's cool.
Obviously, we aren't for you.
The show is free of charge, and you can choose when you do and when you don't listen, man. I don't know what to tell you.
We tell BK this all the time. Nobody cares about your opinions, but yet he keeps giving it to us. He just keeps on
showing
going.
up and, they keep giving me new contracts.
Unbelievable. What are we doing around here?
My personal opinion on the matter, I do think there are spots where teams get overly aggressive. And I think sometimes teams have gone like too far. The pendulum has swung so far in the aggressive lane that they can actually come back to hurt themselves with it. I thought over the weekend, though, I didn't really see many outside of the Ben Johnson first half. I was like, all right, Dan Campbell, let's chill here.
That one was wild. Dan texted him afterwards and said, that was a great call on that, Ben.
It reminded me a lot of, remember that Lions-Cowboys game that it came down to the finish and it was the 2-point conversion try and that they had it like twice and there were those penalties and all that a couple of years ago. And Dan Campbell, with the penalties, was like, screw it. From the 17, we're still going for it. We don't care.
And then he's just bent over on the sidelines. He's like, yeah.
We've got this.
We're going to convert.
That was Ben Johnson on the third drive of the game, down 14-3 from his own 32, saying, screw it, we're going for it.
I love every decision to go for it. Unless you're just an idiot in that position. That was not good.
It. And I always think, like, when they go out there, especially in that scenario where Johnson goes out that first time around from their, like, 30, I'm thinking, oh, it's the classic, we're going to the line. We're going to get him to jump off sides. Then they hike the ball and I'm going, oh, my God, what are we doing? This is too aggressive.
Stop it. You're hurting the team.
I can't handle this. It's too much.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. You got BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. Coming up next, do want to talk a little bit about the Cardinals. They made an interesting signing over the weekend, adding to their bullpen. We'll give you our thoughts on that. And would you have any interest in these 5 free agents that are still out there that at least one Cardinals analyst seems to believe would be a good fit on the team? We'll talk about that next here on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Cardinals made a signing over the weekend. I don't think it's officially been announced just yet, but enough reports suggest that it sure seems as though it's done. Ryan Stanek is the new member of the Cardinals bullpen. Alex, we had known they were looking for some kind of a reliever that has experience to come in and help them out of the back end of the pen. Kind of similar to what they did last year with Phil Maton. They had done this with Andrew Kittredge as well. Didn't know how they were going to do it. Maybe trade, maybe free agency, but it felt as though there's probably somebody out there that can help them. The answer was Ryan Stanek, a guy who is originally from the St. Louis area and spent some time with the Houston Astros. That's probably what he's most known for. He does have a history in the Rays organization, so I'm sure there's some familiarity between he and Chaim Bloom. I would imagine that probably didn't hurt in these negotiations. Stanek is a very different profile than what the Cardinals have typically gone after out of the pen. Big-time velocity. Throws 98, 99 miles an hour. Gets a lot of swing and miss. Also a ton of walks.
Oh.
Fully assume next year when he comes into the game, you have no idea where the ball is going to go.
Sweet, neither does he.
But there might be some swing and miss involved.
If he hits the strike zone.
If you get the right Ryan Stanek season, you could have like an all-star caliber reliever who gets you a legit return at the trade deadline. A few years ago, 2022, Ryan Stanek in 55 innings had a 1.1 ERA. And that season, he struck out 62 batters in 54 innings. A couple of years ago with Seattle and the New York Mets, finished with 55 innings, had 67 strikeouts. The stuff is hard to ignore. Last year had a 5.5 ERA. That's not good.
Only 32 walks.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Really not good, considering he threw 56 innings. Last year was one of the worst in the league when it came to preventing walks. It was a problem for him. He's coming to a ballpark that should help him because he's more of a fly ball pitcher. He does not get a ton of ground balls, so Busch should be a good spot for him. I really like the signing. I think this is the exact kind of move that you make if you're a team in the Cardinals' current situation. You do this with the assumption, I'm paying a few $1,000,000 for Ryan Stanek to potentially have this pay off at the trade deadline by trading him to a contender.
Yeah.
That's what you're looking for.
And it doesn't hurt your team. So, like, I really had no feelings towards it. It's just, it's a move that the Cardinals should make because it's a guy that has upside. It's a guy that does have experience closing games out. Mm-hmm. So that's a benefit for you. They said they needed somebody in the bullpen. And let's be honest, they're not attracting a whole lot of bullpen arms right now in the free agent market. So go upside. I do love the swing and miss numbers. Don't like the walks, but hey, you know what? I'll give the Cardinals credit. You've mentioned it on Twitter before. The players that the pitching staff has helped in the past. Cool, man. Take a shot. Maybe you get Phil Maton. Maybe you're able to flip him at the deadline and bring in something. Even if it's a lottery ticket, you bring in something for a guy that you took a chance on in the season. So this absolutely makes sense for a Cardinals team.
Yeah, I like the signing because of the upside that BK made reference to what he did a couple years ago. If you get that, teams will pay for that at the deadline, even if he has the walk issues. Because teams don't necessarily care about the walks. They just want you to miss bats, right? Because it's the easiest out you can get in baseball. You don't have to rely on any BABIP, any potential luck, little bloopers. If he misses bats, teams are willing to live with the walks. Look at what baseball's done with Blake Snell as a starter throughout his career. The guy he reminds me of, and this is why it'll be kind of interesting to see what Dusty Blake does to try and help him out, because his fastball velo was good. He was 98th or 96th percentile on a fastball velo. Where he had issues was hard hit percentage and barrel percentage. But the guy I'm going to bring up, I think this is exactly who he is. He's a slightly older, less controlled Riley O'Brien. And they were able to get pretty good results from Riley O'Brien last year. So I think he's just like him, guy that throws hard, doesn't really know where it's going, but can he control the quality of contact against him while also missing bats? And I think if you can get that out of him, boom, you've got another arm that's just like Riley O'Brien that you can trade at the trade deadline.
I'd also see what they can do with his split finger. It was a really good pitch for him 2 years ago. Last year, not so much. Teams not only hit it a lot, they hit it hard. 2 years ago, opposing hitters just did nothing against it. They didn't hit it hard, and they barely hit it. In terms of like making contact with it. The strikeout rate was really high with his split finger, and the slugging percentage 2 years ago, the expected slug 240, actual slug 300. Last year, actual slug 430. So if you can get a good year out of his split finger, he gains a little bit of confidence in that. You regain that feel for the pitch. You might really have something here with Ryan Stanek. Not for them, because who cares? But for somebody else that can trade for it at the trade deadline. Listen, let's be real.
And I think based on reports, the team that can get him has a team option, if I'm not mistaken. I think there's a team option on his deal, if I remember correctly.
Nice. That's great.
Even better. For somebody else, but
we're still
even
getting
better.
a top 100 prospect in baseball form at the deadline.
Stumbled upon this, Alex. Josh Jacobs over at the Redbird Rant, rather.
Not the Packers running back?
Nope, not that one.
Okay.
Guy that writes for
I thought it was a
Redbird
weird
Rants.
transition.
Yeah, I was like, Josh Jacobs, what did he just do? Will not make it to the next round of the playoffs.
We'll talk about that here in just a minute. He listed 5 free agent targets who still make sense after signing Ryan Stanek. Just want to get a gut
Kyle
reaction.
Tucker,
Do you guys
Boba
think any of these would be of interest to you if you were in charge of the Cardinals? Number 1, outfielder Randall Grichuk.
No. I have no interest in that.
I don't think you need a platoon bat now.
Okay. Number 2, Walker Buehler.
I don't think you need a rotation arm. I would say no.
If you would have told me Buehler or Dustin May, I would have probably been fine with either of them. They got Dustin May. Bueller's probably going to be more expensive, but no, he's going to be looking for a multi-year deal, so no.
I don't know, man. He had a terrible year last year. I'd do it. Sure, like I'm kicking out Andre Palante from the rotation or Kyle Leahy from the rotation.
Or Richard Fitz.
That's fine. Yeah, I'm cool with that. If you want to sign Walker Buehler, I've got no issues with it. Austin Slater, kind of similar to Randall Grichuk.
Platoon bat.
Jordan Montgomery?
No. You can't sit there and say no Walker Buehler and they get Montgomery.
I think he's better than Buehler.
No.
I think he was bad in Arizona because his arm was blown off.
Your reasoning behind no Buehler was because there's no room in your rotation.
He's going to be recovering. Like, he'll be better by July after we trade some of our starters. I would say no, but like, I really had a ton of interest in him before they signed May.
You wanted Flaherty, too. How'd that work out?
Bring him in.
You're awesome the year I wanted him.
It wasn't good the next year.
You're probably trading Dustin May. You might have injuries. Get to July, find out where your rotation's at, and then either trade Jordan Montgomery to a team that needs him at the trade deadline.
Think about this. The Brewers acquired him last year at the trade deadline, and he wasn't going to pitch. So, there, boom.
Who was the other guy that somebody acquired that hadn't pitched really all season long? God, I can't remember who it was. But somebody last year at the deadline was acquired after like being hurt all season long. And then
Wasn't it a reliever?
Maybe. I can't remember. I'll have to look into it. But Jordan Montgomery could be that for you.
Just move on.
He could be anything. He could even be a boat. Last one, Austin Hayes, outfielder.
No.
T-Bone wanted him a couple of years ago.
I also wanted Austin Slater potentially at last year's deadline if they needed a platoon
If you
bat.
want a right-handed bat, those are all guys that make sense to me.
Yeah.
But I don't know if the
Joel
Cardinals really need
Pozo.
one.
I don't need another right-handed bat.
Coming up in
Can he play
15
outfield?
minutes, we'll hit the rewind. But next, he can play second base probably.
We saw
Pedro Baez did it. Coming up next, NFL Quick Hitters here on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Blues will be back in action tomorrow night when they host the Carolina Hurricanes. We'll have pregame coverage starting at 5:30 with Alex Ferrario. Puck drop at 6:30 with Chris Kerber and Joey Vitale. And tonight here on 101 ESPN, Wild Card Weekend wraps up as we'll have Steelers versus the Texans with pregame coverage starting at 6 o'clock with kickoff at 7:15. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
All right, let's dive into some NFL quick hitters with Alex and T-Bone. I'm BK. We'll get into the rewind here on the other side. Let's go through these games individually, kind of give our final thoughts on what we saw over the wild card weekend. You guys good with that?
No.
Let's talk baseball.
Yeah, let's talk Steelers and Texans tonight. The best one of the bunch.
Rams, Panthers. What was your biggest takeaway from the game, Alex?
That the Rams aren't this Super Bowl juggernaut that we all thought. And I also had a little bit of a takeaway where BK got mad at me when I said the Panthers' defense has improved. And he's like, no, they're terrible. And I said, well, they're better than what they were earlier this season. And they were. Kept themselves in it.
Gave up 34 points.
That's fine. Kept themselves in it in the first half.
How about when I said, take Panthers plus 10.5, and I was told that's crazy.
Yeah, I thought that game was over with. But, I mean, no, it was...
Felt that way in the first half, too.
It was the Rams.
That fourth down decision that we talked about earlier.
I don't think the Rams are this juggernaut. I think the Seahawks can beat them. And I know they beat them already in the regular season, but I don't trust Sam Darnold, and I still think that defense that the Seattle Seahawks provide can shut down that offense, and we all know Rams defense can't get stops.
I said on Friday, the only way that the Panthers win this game is like the any given Sunday thing, where anything can happen any given Sunday, turnovers, that kind of stuff. That's basically what this game was. I didn't think the Panthers played particularly well, but they got a blocked punt. Rams just overall made too many sloppy mistakes offensively, and defensively that was the thing that surprised me. Probably shouldn't have, because it's been this way for most of the last 6 weeks or so. Their defense just can't get stops. I thought that wouldn't be the case against Carolina.
I thought they were great defensively early on in the season. It's like, what happened?
They were. I don't know. I guess
like fatigue. Did fatigue set in?
I think they had a really good scheme, and that was allowing them to get by with a lack of talent. And as teams have adjusted to their schematics, you're starting to see that lack of talent shine through.
Yeah, and I feel like recently their pass rush has kind of disappeared as well, which shouldn't be the case, because Jared Verse, I think, is a stud. They love that Brandon Fisk kid that they drafted at defensive tackle. Yeah, my biggest takeaway in that game was you're right, it's the Rams defense. It's too leaky. I don't know that it's good enough to get them to the Super Bowl. And the only reason that I would say they could get to the Super Bowl is because their offense will outscore the problem. And in this wide open of an NFC, they might be able to do that. But, man, I have no faith in it, because you're right. I thought for sure second time seeing Carolina in 6 weeks, who also picked them apart the last time they played, they would have a better scheme, a better matchup, be able to adjust to what Carolina did. And they did early on, and then it just all went out the window, and Carolina was able to pick them apart. I just don't think their defense is good enough.
Packers versus Bears on Saturday night. Man, what a game, first of all. Second of all, I'm a believer. I'm a believer in Caleb Williams. The way that he is able to come up with his biggest moments in the biggest possible spots, that throw that he made, 4th and 8, down by a couple of scores, gotta have it, or the game is over. The season is over. For him to put that on the money, drifting to his left, cross his body, oh my God. One of the best throws, genuinely, given the stakes of the throw. Get one of the best throws that I've seen in a really long time, maybe ever. So that was my biggest takeaway from this one, Alex, is I'm bought in. I'm a true believer in Caleb Williams. I don't know how much it's going to matter for this season, because I still just do not trust their defense. And they do play on the razor's edge when it comes to the turnovers and some of the mistakes that they make still offensively. But I'm a believer in their long-term future. I think they are the future of the NFC.
My biggest takeaway was more so on both teams, to where there are new teams emerging in the NFC, so we're not talking about the same ones every year. I don't think every next season is going to be, it's the 49ers and it's the Rams and it's the Eagles. I think you're going to be talking about the Bears. I think you're going to be talking about the Packers. You're seeing a new crop of contending teams emerge in the NFC, because that, in my opinion, was the best game of this wild card weekend.
Yeah, I'm still not 100% sold on Caleb Williams, just because I saw the first half where he did not play well. But you can see that this talent is there. If Ben Johnson can continue to get the best out of him, my hope watching that game was that they're able to get the defense the Lions didn't. Because they feel like they could become what the Lions were, where they have this fun offense. They run the ball with their 2 running backs. Caleb Williams, better than Jared Goff. And then you've got nice weapons on the outside with their wide receiver core. And then you look at the defense and go, yeah, no, that's not great. And then they have to outscore their problems. And what was the reason the Lions went home the last couple of years? Their defense was the biggest problem for them. So I hope they're able to fix that side of the ball.
Bills, Jags, what a game. What a game. Either team could have won this, and I would have picked them to have a real shot to go to the Super Bowl out of the AFC. I know it was like the only thing that Romo was saying the entire broadcast. Man, either of these teams, watch out. They win this game. They could go to the Super Bowl.
Here's what Tony was doing in his week for prep.
Yep. He referenced golf like 4 times.
Hell yeah, man.
Anyways.
I don't blame him.
Parker Washington getting hurt in the first half had a huge impact on this game. If that guy had played the entire game, I think the Jags win. He didn't, though, and that's the team that the Bills went up against. I think they should have leaned more on the run. They were getting like 7 yards a pop in this game. They got away from it a little bit, and I didn't love that decision for them. But I'm going to give credit where it's due. Josh Allen was awesome. The defense did just enough, and they came up with timely takeaways from the Jaguars. Jaguars are a really good team, and I think they're on the right path. They did all of this without the guy that they spent a boatload of resources to go trade up for in Travis Hunter this past offseason. The Bills, I will agree with Tony Romo. I think the Bills have a real shot to go to the Super Bowl this year because Josh Allen is just that good.
Yeah, that was my takeaway. I mean, that man took a beating, Josh Allen, and he still found a way to continue to be Superman for that team. I thought that was the toughest challenge the Bills are going to deal with. And in my opinion, I think they can beat the Broncos. And then from there, it doesn't matter on the other side of the bracket. I think they'll be representing the Super Bowl in the AFC, and it's all because Josh Allen. And it did feel like in that football game, Josh Allen realizes what's in front of him. There's no Chiefs in this postseason. There's no Patrick Mahomes. So now you just have to overcome the battle. I heard his post-game interview, and, you know, it was Josh Allen-esque to where it was quick responses, but he said every game, you look at that opponent, you take them down, and you move on to the next one. I think that's where this is at. So I saw this as, Bills are going to be the Super Bowl team in the AFC this year.
Yeah, it feels like they can do it this year now that they don't have the other horses in the race. Like, you don't have to worry about Mahomes, don't have to worry about Lamar. The one thing that does worry me is the run defense. I don't know why Jacksonville went away from the run in that contest, but I also look at the rest of the AFC. Who's the team that's going to just bully them and run the football on them? I don't think there's one left in the AFC.
Because both picks can't help himself.
Yeah, so they should be able to get out of this AFC because it's not like they're going up against another great run team moving forward.
Best one's probably the Patriots, and they're just okay at it.
That's what I was thinking, too. Yeah, because, like, Denver doesn't scare you. It looks like that's probably who they're going to match up against.
Yeah, they will. I think the winner of tonight's game will play against the Patriots. Yeah, winner of tonight's game plays the Patriots. So Bills will be playing against Denver next weekend. 49ers versus the Eagles. My biggest takeaway from this was basically as follows. I was dead ass wrong. Couldn't have been any more wrong on this game. And it's because I fell for the Ponzi scheme that is the Philadelphia Eagles all year long. This is who they were. Never once did they look like a different team than what we saw yesterday. I just thought they would flip that switch against a terrible 49ers defense, and they just never did. Beyond that, they need to fire Nick Sirianni. I'm going to get names correct at some point today, I promise.
Did you say Sick Niriani?
No, I said Mike Sirianni. I don't know why. He's Mike now.
So you're thinking of Mike Shanahan?
Yeah, that was what you were thinking of.
Nick Sirianni's decision to call a timeout prior to that 4th and 11 is a fireable offense. I'm not saying that it was a bad decision to go for it. Of course you go for it in that spot. It's 4th and 11, San Francisco, 21-yard line. You're down by 4. Kick a field goal there. That would have been every bit as crazy. Honestly, less crazy, though, than calling a timeout. The timeout there does not allow you multiple outs. What it does is it put all of your eggs into the we will convert on 4th and 11, which is a low percentage play, by the way. We will convert on 4th and 11 with the quarterback who's been awful all day long throwing for it.
And how many plays did they have for 11 yards?
Yeah, not many. Most of them were by Saquon. By calling that timeout, they cannot stop the clock enough to get the ball back. So That was a horrible decision. They would have been better off taking the penalty for a delay of game, giving themselves more time there, and going forward on 4th and 16 than they were by calling the timeout prior to that 4th down. That's one of many issues that they had in that game. A.J. Brown was horrible. Kudos to the 49ers for getting it done. This Eagles team, man, I'm glad they were put out of their misery because they were awful.
Yeah, that was my takeaway. I stopped falling for it towards the end of the regular season because early on in the season, I was the one that was saying, I'm not going to bet against them because they'll turn it on. They know how to. The last 3 or 4 games of the regular season, it's like, okay, this is a little concerning going into the playoffs right now. My biggest thing was Sirianni, and it wasn't as much on that lack of a timeout, although that was awful looking. It was just the way he handles his players. Like, we all know the saga with Jalen Hurts. He's getting in the face of A.J. Brown, who dropped the football, who part of the reason A.J. Brown has struggled is your lack of use of him early on this season. You have lost that roster, and that roster should still be competing for Super Bowls, much like we saw the Kansas City Chiefs do year after year. So my biggest thing in that Eagles game is it's not on the 49ers. I think the 49ers are cooked going into the next game without George Kittle. It was all about the Philadelphia Eagles, and you need a new leader of that roster.
And I'll add this, too, because as though I agree, Sirianni should be fired. It is also a reminder, like, you can look at a roster, and we all agreed, and that's why I picked the 49ers on Friday. I said, look, they have made average defenses look good. And why is it? It's because they don't have the quarterback to overcome these problems, right? We all agree Buffalo's a flawed football team. They've got Superman. It's Josh Allen. The Chiefs, they were flawed like 2 of the last 3 runs that they had. They have Patrick Mahomes. If you don't have a top 5 quarterback in the NFL that can uplift that entire roster with his play, you're not going to be able to get past your flaws. And that was the issue with the Eagles. Yes, they had major flaws. Yes, Nick Sirianni's a bad head football coach that should be fired. They also don't have the quarterback to overcome those problems. Jalen Hurts is not a top 5 quarterback, not a top 10 quarterback. He is in that like 12 to 17 range, and that's just not good enough when you don't have a complete roster.
Last thing on this, and then we'll give our pick for tonight's NFL game on the other side.
That'll take 10 minutes.
Patriots versus Chargers last night. Chargers have to change the play caller. It's gone stale. Their offensive line is awful, and they got bullied last night. I think it was 30 pressures.
Jeez. Knew what their game plan was.
Patriots, 30 pressures. It was like a 70% pressure rate for New England. They don't have a great defensive line.
No.
But it didn't matter. Justin Herbert did not have a good game last night, but their offense is really terrible. That was about Drake May, him having an awesome game. They only put up 16 points. May played very well because nothing around him was going particularly well in that one. I didn't have a whole lot of confidence moving forward, though, with what they did. Like, I don't think they're going to put up a whole lot of points if they have to play the Texans next week.
No.
So my biggest takeaway on that was just kind of similar to the Eagles. This thing had to come to an end for the Chargers.
Yeah, I mean, the Patriots one was, it was like, okay, what's going on here for me? But mine was more the Chargers. Like, I think Herbert's starting to trend towards Lamar Jackson territory where it's like, I just don't trust you in the playoffs. Like, I know he was just getting destroyed in terms of pressure, but there were also about 4 or 5 passes to Quentin Johnston that were overthrown. And this is now the 3rd playoff game I've seen Justin Herbert just not perform. So I'm kind of getting to the point where it's like with Justin Herbert, man, I don't know if you're a playoff quarterback like I've seen other guys become.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see because mine was with the Patriots because you're right. Their offense didn't do a lot against that Chargers defense, which is good, but it's not at the Houston Texans or the Denver Broncos level. Can they win more dog fights like this? Because when you go up against Houston, it's going to have to be like a 16-13 win. And I don't know if I trust their defense to be able to hold up and keep them in a football game if the offense doesn't get going. So I was a little bit taken back by how much the New England Patriots offense struggled as a whole in that contest.
Alongside T-Bone and Alex, I'm BK. We'll give you our pick for tonight's Monday night football game between the Steelers and the Texans as we wrap a bow on this show. In the Rewind next here on 101 ESPN. When I leave the show today, I'm going straight out to Victory Men's Health. I'm going to my location. They have 4 of them that you can check out. O'Fallon, Missouri, Sunset Hills, Town and Country, and O'Fallon, Illinois. I go to the one out in Town and Country. I'm heading straight there to check my micronutrient levels. I was on a vegetarian diet last time I did this, so my levels have probably changed a decent amount. That means my needs have changed since the last time that I got them checked. Whether it's that for you or helping with their erectile dysfunction issues, finding ways to lose some of that unwanted weight or low testosterone. Some of the symptoms may be kicking in for you. Maybe you don't have that same amount of energy. Your workouts aren't giving you the same results that you once had. If you've got any questions about it, they can check your levels for you over at Victory Men's Health. It's a super easy process. Go to their website today, victorymenshealth.com. That's victorymenshealth.com. When you get there, book that first appointment today. Put in your name, email, phone number, tell them BK with the 101 ESPN sent you, and then tell them what it means for you to unlock your inner champion. It's all available for you at Victory Men's Health and online at victorymenshealth.com. If you guys missed anything from today's show, be sure to check it out at the podcast page, 101ESPN.com, and the free 101 ESPN app is where you go to find it. It's all sponsored by
Schaefer Door Company.
You can find me mispronouncing basically every name and every word in the English language. The 101 ESPN app is sponsored by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. It's 1:56. Time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler.
You think Keldon Sheaf can get his defenseman Huggy Damilton back into the lineup?
I doubt it. Probably not.
It's going to be tough.
He might get fired, by the way.
Heldon Keefe?
Yep.
No. No.
Are you really fired if they spell your name wrong?
It's not his fault that the general manager decided to literally give everyone on the roster no movement clauses, try and get Quinn Hughes, couldn't acquire Quinn Hughes because of those no movement clauses.
We're talking about the Devils, not the Blues.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. No move and no trades are very different, though.
That's true.
Sorry. No moves
My bad.
not affect the Blues because that guy with the no trade is now in Vegas.
That's why I got lost and thought you were talking about the Blues. I mixed it up.
And then decided to, you know what, this guy won't accept a trade or we can't just release him. So, hey, you're a healthy scratch.
Steelers versus the Texans this evening. You'll be able to hear it right here on 101 ESPN. Pregame starting at 6 o'clock right after the fast lane. Steelers are a 3-point home underdog against the Texans. I said this with the Eagles. It came back to bite me. I just don't see any way that the Texans lose this football game. They have an unbelievable defense. The Steelers do nothing at a particularly high level. Their defense is fine, but the offense is not good. I mean, it's just really not good. They've basically got Kenneth Gainwell, a few deep balls potentially to DK Metcalf. I just think the Texans are a significantly better football team. I think they win this one by 10 points. Alex, how do you see this one going tonight?
The same as you. I mean, the deep ball's great for DK Metcalf, but the secondary for the Texans is really good, and they can isolate one guy and shut him down. And Gainwell, I don't know if Rodgers is going to have enough time to look for Gainwell. I think he's going to be pressured, and Will Anderson would concern me a lot if I'm that Steelers offensive line. So, yeah, I think this one's done at halftime.
Yeah, I love the Texans in this one. I just don't see how. I'm with you. I don't see how the Steelers score. Now, I do love the over. It's at 38.5. Feels low because I think the Texans are putting up points. I mean, they've come in with one of the hottest offenses. I think they score like 30, and you see like 7 maybe from Pittsburgh, and that 7 to 10, that'd be enough to get you over.
Okay, so you're even further on the Texans train than I am. I think it's like 20 to 10.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the under hits. I think this is low scoring.
Oh, see, really? Because I love that the momentum that they've brought to the playoffs. I think Stroud has a huge game, and he just picks apart that defense.
I think the Steelers put up 3 points in the first half, and then from there it's already a 14-3, 17-3 score, and it's over.
We'll break it all down for you guys tomorrow at 11 a.m. For Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. The Fast Lane is next here on 101 ESPN.